My name's London.
My name's Thomas, and I have a fan theory that Hellraiser and Despicable Me take place in the same universe.
And this is Screen Weens.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone back to Screen Weens, the only podcast.
It's the only one.
This is episode 150-something, 9?
Yeah,
8.
We're getting up there.
Doing this for years. We're experts at everything in the world now.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking about every single fucking Hellraiser movie. 157.
Oof.
It's been a rough one. Not going to lie. It's been a rough week.
Not only did we double the amount of movies that we typically do on a deep dive, let alone this isn't even a deep dive.
We were going to watch 2.
Yeah, we were just going to watch 2 of them, and then both of us were like, well, we're going to watch the other ones. And then approximately after rewatching the second one again, I was like, oh my god, why did I agree to watch all of these?
After watching the first one, I was like, oh no.
The first one, we'll get to that. Yeah. But, yeah, Hellraiser. Oh, Yuga Booga Dooga.
Yuga Booga Dooga.
I don't know if that's what that guy says, you know.
But before we get into Hellraiser, I guess we will briefly mention, did you happen to do anything? Oh yeah, you watched Terrifier 2.
I did a couple things. I watched a couple other things.
Okay, what else did you watch?
I rented X, and I liked it.
Good.
I was like, okay, that was a good one. So then I went and saw Pearl, and I also liked that.
Oh, good.
Now I'm waiting for Maxine.
Yeah.
I wish I had just waited. I didn't realize that it was going to be a trilogy. I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I went and saw... I rewatched not only Terrifier 1, but the short. And yeah, they're both fucking awful. And then I watched Terrifier 2, and it wasn't much better.
I think it's... Yeah, no, I really didn't like Terrifier 2. But I think what's more annoying in it is that I think there is an okay movie inside of it.
Yeah, it's like Justice League, the Snyder Cut. Yeah. It's like, yeah, there's a serviceable horror movie in there, probably.
But then it's 2 hours and 20 minutes when you have like 70 minutes of content.
Yeah.
The fucking... they're at the carnival for like half the fucking movie, it feels like.
Yeah. No, I was like, oh my god. There was a couple points where I was like checking my phone, like, oh my god, like how much longer is this going to be? And yeah, it was.
I took a walk halfway through the movie. I'm like, I'm just gonna go. I didn't even need a pee or anything. I'm just gonna step out for a second.
I didn't. I sat there through the entire thing. Minus, apparently, there's an after credit scene. The second the title scroll started, I was like, well, that was.
Well, there was also there's like a behind the scenes look with Damien Leone at the very end too, and yeah. I stayed for like 2 minutes, and I'm like, wait a minute. I don't care.
Yeah, no, I heard them announce that, and some of the people in the theater were like, ooh, and I was like, ugh. It was not something I was necessarily looking forward to. There are some things conceptually in there that I like. Like, I like the kind of fantasy drawing aspect to it. I thought that was a neat idea, but it really didn't go anywhere.
Doesn't go anywhere. They don't finish that plot thread like at all.
2.5 hour runtime, and you couldn't have taken that anywhere.
They also... Kind of really weird to have that design be like this dad's design, and then it's like pretty much a Red Sonja-esque thing, and then have your teenage daughter have it on. It's like,
yeah,
what? And then it's like the mom's like, your dad would have loved to see. Like, I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah,
just some really weird things.
Yeah, I see. That's the thing with Terrifier is I can't tell if it's like an absurdist extreme horror joke or if it's like someone who just kind of unironically views horror this way, because I've met horror fans who do kind of unironically like the gory stuff like that, and it's like, where it's like, I don't think they entirely, like, I get it's not real, but I don't know. The way that they, like, interpret some stuff, especially the horror genre, always has me like, I think someone might want to keep an eye on you, kind of a deal.
I just have so many mixed
strikes me as one of those types.
Like, I really don't like... I'm fine with gore. I love gore and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, most people are like, oh, the kills, they were so much... And I'm like, they were just bloody. Like,
Yeah, it
Like the one with Allie, which is like the friend.
is the one who gets scalped.
Yeah, that just goes on forever.
Yeah.
Like, the one part I kind of like is when the mother walks in. I don't want to go into too much spoilers.
Yeah.
But when the mother walks in, she sees what happened.
Yeah, I thought that one... I thought it was kind of funny in how far it went because it just kept going and going and going. And by the end of that sequence, she's got like fucking one arm and it's like, yeah, just completely. But it's also like, oh my God, like, I don't know. I will compliment Terrifier 2 compared to the short film and the first film. It feels less mean-spirited towards
women?
Women, like, it's still mean-spirited towards women. It's a slasher movie, but it feels like less, they've got the obvious target on their back.
Yeah, but at the same time, you watch it and all the men's deaths in it take like 10 seconds. And all the women's deaths in it's like,
that also...
That goes on for 3 minutes. Cool.
Yeah, that also kind of struck me. I was like, so, yeah. Yeah, he's questionable.
Yeah, and it's like, and it just, like, this one at the very least tried to have, like, an interesting protagonist, and, like, I think the actress does a serviceable job, and I like the idea behind her character, and I like this kind of mystical aspect they go for. It just doesn't work very well. Yeah, I thought the movie was really bad, but maybe if it was an hour and a half, I would have given it like a 4 out of 10.
No, that's exactly my sentiments. I was looking at it and I was like, part of me really wants to like this and to give it a 4, but I can't.
The first like fucking dream sequence when it's like,
that goes on.
It's like 8 minutes long. It's fucking horrifying.
Yeah. When that happened, I was like, oh God, when it started. And as it continued, I was just even more like, that and like, I noticed kind of back onto the subject of like kind of glorifying things in horror unintentionally. I noticed like there was a couple things where I'm like, oh my God, like some of the most like stomach churning things that happen in our society happen in this movie. Like there's that scene where he shoots up the entire studio. That kind of triggered me a little bit because I was like, oh God. And he like throws acid in somebody's face later. And it's like, that's another thing that there's like a history of like people fucking acid bombing and shit. It's like some of the most fucked up just like terrorist acts that you can have that Art the Clown is just doing. And they try to kind of talk about it a little bit in the movie with the brother like dressing up and it's like, you're basically glorifying it.
Yeah, I was actually like, oh, this is interesting. And then they don't do anything with it. There are so many like interesting concepts that could work in this movie, but they don't fucking do anything.
Yeah. So, yeah, Damien Leone, keep working on it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if this was a step in the right direction. So if he keeps doing this in like 4 movies, I might like one of them.
Yeah. That's...
You know, and the first, like, 15 minutes I was really trying. I'm like, maybe I'll like this one. And there were things I liked. There was a part where I laughed out loud. Audibly laughed.
There were some parts where I laughed. I thought Art's shtick was kind of funny when he's in, like, the Halloween shop and he's just back there, like, putting on...
Yeah, no, I like, snorted when it cut to him and he was just wearing glasses, standing perfectly still. Hey. And then they kept doing it. But what made the second one funny is it cut back to her, but you could just see him in the background holding the position still. Like, there were funny parts. I like the beginning part where he's just naked in the laundromat, like, reading an atrocity and just going like...
Yeah. Also, the little girl. They never, like, really fully explained that. And it's just kind of... It felt like sequel bait. I didn't see the end credit scene, so I don't know, like...
It's bad. It's
explain to me what that is after you record. But, yeah, it's just like... But, god damn it, I'll be damned if I'm not going to see Terrifier 3 if they make one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've already fucking...
You know who could make a good Terrifier movie? Ted Nicolau.
Yeah. Or like... I feel like Sam Raimi could probably pull off the kind of energy needed for an Art the Clown movie. I feel like Damien Leone's just skill as a filmmaker isn't quite where he can embrace the chaos.
Maybe he just needs a co-director.
Yeah.
Or an editor.
Definitely an editor. And like
I'm sure he has an editor, but he probably has an editor that won't be like, No, we need to cut an hour off of this.
I think he may have edited it himself. It strikes me as a movie he would have edited by himself, especially since it was like a crowdfunded movie. At least I believe so. But
yeah, it was an Indiegogo campaign, I think.
Yeah.
We should make a horror movie about Joe Yowza.
We should. He did edit it. He wrote, direct, and edited it.
Okay. Well, then, yeah, maybe hire an editor.
Yeah. Because they'd be like...
Because I also, I get it. I get not being able to look at your product and being like, no, we got to cut this. Being like, no, I'm proud of this. We got to keep this all in.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
And if you do have to keep it in, you don't need to, stay on a shot for, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
You can trim... You can trim them down.
We can trim. Yeah. Watch anything else, or was that it?
Just X-Pearl and the Terrifier movies. Yep.
I watched Terrifier 2. I didn't rewatch the first one. I didn't have time, and I really didn't want to.
You weren't missing it. I rewatched it and was like...
I was like, what if I like it this time? And I'm like, that's impossible.
I still stand by... I don't mind the first, 45 minutes, but the second it gets into, the second main character, where basically the movie's just, becomes a second movie, it's just
I did stay in the final, the part where there was a Q&A, a digital Q&A with a podcast host or something after the movie, where they were like, everyone loves the hacksaw scene from the first one. I'm like, why?
I don't think they do.
I'm just I don't think it's super creative, and it's just kind of gratuitous without really being very fun. I don't mind, gratuitous violence in certain situations, or if it's thematically relevant, or if it just looks fun. But I don't think it does any of those things.
No, I think I think my issue with that kill in particular is it doesn't quite pick its lane, because it's it's kind of a cartoonish concept, splitting someone down the middle like that, but it's done a little too graphically to where it's not really funny, but it's also not realistic enough to where it's super... I mean, I'm sure it's appalling to a ton of people. It just looks super fake to me when I watch it, so I'm like, eh. But yeah, so I think that's my biggest issue with it. But yeah, it's not very creative. Obviously the most creative kill in that movie, because the rest of it's just he'll hit someone on the head. No, you know what my favorite kills in Terrifier is definitely the one where she's actually beating the shit out of him with the plank of wood, and he does the Indiana Jones bit where he just pulls out a gun and shoots her, because it's unexpectedly funny. Yeah. It's okay, he's this kind of a slasher. But yeah. Terrifier.
Maybe my buddy Caleb, who has the Art the Clown tattoo, he loved it.
Oh, I'm sure he did. I'm
glad you liked it. What else? We're still watching Rings of Power. We have 2 episodes left. We're down an episode, and then the last episode's Friday. It's so boring.
Yeah.
It's so boring. I think it's the same thing. I think there might be a really good movie in there. Maybe 3 hours.
Yeah.
But each episode's an hour and 10 minutes, 9 episodes long. This is too fucking long.
Yeah. Is that what Disney's doing now? I heard something about them trimming down a bunch of their fucking series into isn't that what Werewolf at Night was?
Well, that was a special presentation. That was planned to be an hour.
Oh, okay.
And that's another one we watched. It's really good.
Yeah, I'm sure. Probably because it's an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that one. It's aesthetically refreshing, too. It doesn't look like anything the MCU's done. And it looks nice, and it's fun.
I might just isolated check that one out.
Yeah, you don't need to know anything.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't assume I would need any sort of fucking knowledge on us.
I think that might be the only good thing I watched this week. The new She-Hulk episode was fine. Andor's been really, really good.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that one to wrap up.
And we watched the first episode of the Nathan Fielder show, The Rehearsal.
Oh, yeah, I've heard pretty good things about that.
It's very cringy, but it's good.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of
We've been watching a little more Hunter x Hunter, just like watching a lot of shows. But movies, I'm like Hellraiser, and I'm like, oh, I couldn't read it all this week. I tried to, and it was just like, my mind kept wandering towards Hellraiser every time. Like, oh.
Yeah, no, I was like...
So, but I am going to finish this week, so.
Yeah, I'm going to read this week, because I was like... I was very concerned. I was like, if I don't just watch these movies as soon as possible, I'm going to put them off, and I'm not going to watch the 11 Hellraiser movies, and I didn't need that, so... And it took me pretty much all week. I would sit down... I was like, I'm going to watch through like 4 of them a day. And then I would just keep pausing. And like, oh, no, I can't.
Yeah.
They are lots of fun. Lots
of fun. But yeah, that's what I did this week. We have some questions. Don't worry. Save the day. Questions from Pierre. If you had to choose one instrument to be used exclusively in all film score going forward, what would it be? So, like, that's the, I guess, used exclusive. So, I guess that's the only instrument. The bassoon.
Probably like a synthesizer.
Yeah. I think synth could work in the Phantom Thread.
I mean, like, can you like use plugins for
like an electric piano then, like, yeah. I guess. If you can't, I guess the lute.
A bass.
The triangle. Probably like an electric keyboard, but if you can't do that, maybe just like a guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Question 2. What is the best Power Ranger color? Color, not like character.
Yeah. Green. Yeah,
green, or I like the Gold Rangers usually. But they're usually not like solely gold. Yeah. We're just looking at like the primary characters' colors usually. I'd say red or green.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Question 3. If you had to cast actors in a Legend of Zelda movie, who would be your leads? Also, David Lynch is directing, so it's going to probably be a train wreck anyway. David Lynch's Legend of Zelda.
Okay. If it's David Lynch, I'm only going to cast 3 characters.
Kyle MacLachlan as Link.
Yeah. I'm going to go...
Laura Dern as Zelda.
Yeah, no, those were like my initial thoughts. I think I'm going to go... this is hard. Kyle MacLachlan. No. He's booted from the cast. He can't be in it. He's been in too many David Lynch projects.
I would like The Rock to play Ganondorf.
I was going to say Nick Cage as Ganondorf.
Nick Cage as Ganondorf and The Rock as the Great Deku Tree.
Sure.
I just want to see these actors work with David Lynch. I'm using this as an excuse.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, Nick Cage has been in a David Lynch movie, and he's great in it.
Yes. I'm going to say... I don't know.
Willem Dafoe as Ganondorf. We keep seeing great ideas for Ganondorf. Link.
Yeah, God, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, like, actors who he's actually worked with instead of just, like, going out and picking a rando. Probably, like, I'm just going to have to go out and pick a rando for Link, though. Probably, like, I don't know, Timothée Chalamet. He seems like he'd be like...
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Most of the actors I know are old. Like, too old for Link. It could be like a gruff old Link.
Go find some TikTok star.
Oh, perfect. Noah Centineo is Link. You don't know who that is. He's playing Atom Smasher in Black Adam. Let's just do Anya Taylor-Joy as Zelda.
Works for me.
Yeah, sure. She's great. She mean everything. I think she's playing Peach in Mario.
That doesn't surprise me. Robert Pattinson is Ganondorf.
There we go. Daniel Radcliffe is Link.
There we go. We'll just de-age him and make him...
Yeah.
Like, they'll just do the George Lopez thing where it's his head on, like, a kid's body.
There we go.
Yeah.
What other fucking Zelda characters? I don't know any Zelda.
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't give a shit.
I've played
the Deku Tree.
The beginning of a couple of the games, but yeah, I never make them super far.
Johnny Young Bosch is Link. There we go. Because he'd have the really good fight screams and stuff.
Yeah.
Also, Bleach comes back tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
I'm very excited. Yeah. I'm sticking with Johnny Young Bosch as Link. It's fine. He's older. It's going to be an older thing. So let's also let's stick with my original idea of Laura Dern as Zelda.
That works.
And then Kyle MacLachlan as Ganondorf.
Sure. I want Nick Cage, Kyle MacLachlan, Robert Pattinson.
It's going to be Ganondorf from all of the timelines.
Yeah, they're all going to fuse into one, like, monster Cronenberg Ganondorf, and it's going to...
Actually, no. David Cronenberg as Ganondorf.
I mean, I'm not mad at it.
David Lynch himself as God.
Yes. I think that's the only right.
It'll be an interesting meta commentary on our relationship with the hero's journey, especially since we've had the idea that the hero's journey is completely in our hands. Like, we're no longer reading or experiencing something, but we are actively being the hero, and how that's affected our psyche and our expectations in life. There you go, David Lynch.
Yeah. Train wreck incoming, Pierre. But...
Actually, you know who? Florence Pugh is Zelda. Specifically because I think she'd be really good as Sheik, which is the, like, ninja version.
Yeah, of course she'd make an appearance. Along with... Let's just toss Mario in there.
Tingle. Who's going to be Tingle? Chris Pratt can be Tingle.
Chris Pratt should just be every character.
He should be Link.
Yeah. He can like get an acting coach.
I'm Link.
Yeah.
Did you watch the trailer for?
I did.
It looks okay. I do think that Jack Black's voice is like fun, but it's like it sounds like Jack Black. But at least he's like doing something with it. You know. Chris Pratt is not great voice.
Yeah. Let's just say my faith in this project has always been at pretty much a net zero.
Yeah, I really, honestly, do not give a single shit about the Mario movie. I'll see it.
People were like, they're doing a new Mario movie. And I was like, that could be interesting. And then they were like, it's Illumination. I was like, well, it's probably going to be not good. And then people were like, yeah, and Chris Pratt's going to be Mario. And it's like, well, yeah, you were just...
But Charlie Day is Luigi.
Yeah, see... they were so close. They just needed Danny DeVito as Mario, and then it would have been like perfect synergy. But they didn't do that.
I hope we start the movie and it's live action and Chris Pratt is like just plumbing someone's toilet and he like sees a gold coin down there. He's like, oh, what's this? And he gets sucked in and he's like, where am I?
Yeah, kind of like more or less kind of the plot of the old Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah.
Like he gets sucked into the Koopa
That's a good
realm.
bit.
I haven't watched that in a long time.
But
that's bad.
Yeah. Thank you for the questions, Pierre.
Hellraiser.
Be honest, did not like a single one of them.
Like at all?
I thought all of them were bad.
I don't...
There are varying degrees of bad.
Yeah.
There are 4 I didn't loathe. The rest were just pretty rough.
I'm going to say I don't think that they were all bad, but I could go my entire life without never rewatching a single Hellraiser movie, and I think I'd be happy. It wouldn't cause me any strife.
It's just unfortunate because, like, every single other horror franchise I've watched, even the ones that have started off rocky, like Friday the 13th, I've eventually come around to. Like 3 and 4 and 6, like Friday the 13th has some bops.
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street starts off strong and then goes weak and then strong. You know, it's all over the place. But I still like those. Scream, I really like that franchise.
Yeah, definitely.
I haven't watched all the Child's Play movies, and I really don't like the first one. But I'm sure there's at least one that I wouldn't hate.
I'm sure you'd probably maybe get a kick. See, I don't know, because where I stopped, it was pretty bad. And Bride of Chucky, I could see you not liking as well, even though it is different from the typical dynamic of those movies.
But I will just ask you this. What is the better franchise to you? This or The Howling?
Definitely The Howling. I would rewatch.
Yeah. Would you rather rewatch all... Was there 7 or 8?
There's 8 Howling.
Would you rather rewatch all 8 Howling movies or all 11 Hellraiser movies?
All 8 Howling movies for sure. Okay. For a multitude of reasans beyond.
There's like 2 you like, right? Or like 1 you thought was okay.
There is 1 Howling movie I like.
How many Hellraiser movies do you like? Not that you think are like not that you think are good or fine. How many do you like? None of them? Okay.
Yeah, I don't. They're not good. They're just at their best, they're dull.
And honestly, like, I guess we're talking about Hellraiser 1. We'll start off with, but I think my thing with this movie is that it's not that I'm desensitized and it's like, oh, for its time. I think for its time, it's pretty dull. Like, From Beyond, and there are so many, like, Stuart Gordon movies and, like, things like that came out right around this time or earlier that are more grotesque or more thematically dark or, you know, just, like, I don't think this movie is very...
Yeah.
It's pretty safe. It's pretty light.
Yeah, so, okay. Yeah, because my issue with this movie is how seriously it takes itself. It very much, you can tell it wants to be like one of those like highbrow evangelical horrors, like The Exorcist or The Omen.
But it doesn't have the script for that.
No,
it doesn't have the character. It doesn't have like the thematic relevancy. I get what they're going for, but it's just
a lot of people I've heard kind of like refer to this, the first Hellraiser in particular, as like literary horror because it feels like it's trying to go for something more grand and deep, but really it's not grand or deep. It's very deep. It's very surface level. Like, oh, so the plot of the first Hellraiser, for those who are curious, is basically
this is also the plot for the next 10.
There's a woman who is basically, oh god, I can't remember her name. Julia. So Julia and her husband, Hubert.
I don't remember his name. I remember Frank.
Yeah, Frank. So basically, Hubert is Frank's brother. Frank is missing, so they like go over to like just take possession of his house and live in there. And what ends up happening is that Hubert like cuts his hand on a fucking nail and bleeds on the spot where Frank died, which leads to him in a weird, like, kind of more or less just skeletal form with a little bit of flesh coming up from the floorboards, which is probably the second best part of the movie.
I really like him when he's in this form because he doesn't have any legs and he's like walking around with his hands like, hey, it's me, Frank. I'm like, this is funny. This is good.
Yeah, there's that scene where she like first comes up and he like literally does like the waddle thing.
Yeah, he like leans over, he's like, hey, it's me.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh my god. But, so he basically, like, when Frank was alive, he was the best slave that Julia ever had. Like, she just constantly on her mind. She doesn't like being at this house because it's, like, stoking up old fucking memories. But then, now she can resurrect her fucking
dead boyfriend, who's also her husband's brother.
By luring over men for him to eat. And then he gains a little bit of flesh for every man. How many men? Not a specific number. We don't really know.
At least 4 or something like that.
And if you look at the sequels for guidance on further explanation for like the specifics of this situation, you are shit out of luck because it is hella inconsistent. So Julia comes back like on probably like the 3rd tier of flesh that Frank had when she comes back in the second one. Sorry for jumping ahead there, but just an example. But this movie's fucking boring. So I've got a lot of notes. Let me go through. So let's see.
So as a quick synopsis, they are just... Frank opened the box and made Pinhead come out, and then they tortured him and killed him. Mm-hmm. And then Hubert accidentally brought him back, and Julia helped him revive himself. Yeah. And then they... meanwhile, the daughter of Hubert, Kirsty.
Kirsty.
Kirsty is like, something suspicious going on in this house.
And then the last 30 minutes, it decides it wants to be Shadow of a Doubt.
Yeah. That was awesome.
But grosser.
But eventually Frank and Julia kill Hubert and steal the skin of him, and Frank wears it.
Yeah.
And then they try to live happily ever after, but Kirsty's like, you're evil!
Yeah, and she knocks him out to the demon feds, the Cenobites.
Yeah, because she opened the box because she had no idea what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I really hate the logic behind this box. Yeah. Because it has these, like, guardians who are, like, warning people, but then they just let, like... So what's the point of warning people if you also will just have them go after people that accidentally open the box or just find it? Like, what... I'm fine if you just want it to be a box that people find.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna have these, like, guardians, then...
Does the movie, like, state them to be guardians? Or are they...
I mean, there's a giant bone demon at the end that, like, picks it up and carries it back to the guy.
Oh, well, that... Right? Yeah, that thing.
And it's never mentioned again.
Yeah.
Like, what
it shows up in the sequel. Its face is on the post.
I was really annoyed in the sequel.
Well, yeah,
for an hour and a half.
We'll get to the sequel when we get there. But, so some of the notes I took a lot of notes on this one, so I'm just trying to breeze through them. So I don't really like any of the main characters. Julia is your main point of view character for the first 2/3 of the movie, and then they just decide to shift over to Kirsty. And it's like, I think that this problem could have easily been adjusted and fixed. Like, I don't know, maybe have it so Kirsty lived in the fucking house with them, and you actually got to know her character aside from...
Especially because they, like, set it up. They're like, you can stay here. And she's like, no.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't blame her, but at least it would have been, like, a little more satisfying and given her at least more of an illusion that we know her. She, like, shows up for, like, one scene, and then she shows up for, like, a dinner scene, and we get a scene where she's at a pet store, and then it's like, that's it until the final half an hour of the movie. So I think this movie probably, as much as it would have pained me, used an extra half an hour and given some of that for development for the main character, the final girl. But yeah, let's see. The third act, it becomes very, like, noir. Like, I compared it to Shadow of a Doubt, but it's like, yeah, it's like the cops are closing in and they've got a rat that they're trying to fucking stop from squealing on them. I think this movie has a scene that is, like, the biggest missed opportunity because, like, so for the first 2/3 of the movie, your point of view character is Julia. And you can tell that she's kind of hesitant because Frank is, like, thirsting to kill his brother and take his skin. And Julia's, like, not fully on board with that idea. And they don't really explore that at all. And they don't show you the scene where his brother actually gets killed. And I think that could have been, like, a very emotionally rich scene. Even if you don't know a lot about the characters, like, the act of itself could have presented them with a lot of potential in that scene. But no, it's off-screened. And
even, I think they could have been off-screen, and you just see Julia in another room.
Yeah, that's what happens, is that he, like, comes in and he touches her face, and there's, like, a blood, and then she, like, feels the blood, and is like, oh, yeah, this is Frank now.
Yeah.
Like, fuck yeah. And then they have sex. And then, the metaphors are really on the fucking, just, like, the fucking nails, and the fucking, there's, like, a phoenix tattoo that Frank has on his back when he's, like, a human. It's like, oh, gee, I wonder what that's fucking symbolic for. It's really fucking obvious shit.
Yeah, I just don't really see the appeal of this movie. And I love horror.
I do see the appeal. I think it's
Like,
kind of an interesting concept, but they don't.
Well,
really,
I agree with that. I just watching it, I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a weird mix of like it's got like 3 or 4, maybe not 3 or 4, maybe like 1 or 2 decent ideas that could be their own things, but they're like kind of both shoehorned into this movie because like obviously the Cenobites are what people took away from this movie, and like that's the more interesting high concept shit that people like. But this movie really wants to be a smaller scale movie about like this fucked up toxic relationship between these 2 characters and the lengths that people are willing to go to for like those they love or whatnot. And it's like, I think it needs to pick a lane. It doesn't know which one it wants to be, and therefore it doesn't really give.
I mean, I think it could explore it all. It just doesn't have enough time to. Mm-hmm. And it also just, like, focuses on the wrong characters, Yeah. I think a lot of the Julia stuff is so on the nose and so surface level that it doesn't have to, like, devote almost any time to it, but it does anyway.
Yeah.
Like, none of the concepts, none of the, like, themes that are explored during the scenes with Julia are, like, interesting or that hadn't been said at this point in time for movie making or horror.
Mm-hmm. I even went out of my way to watch, like, I was like, people regard this as, like, a masterpiece. Some people do. I'm not there, obviously. But I was like, we watched, like, a video essay where someone, like, tries to break down what makes this movie so great.
Yeah,
and
like,
it was
are we missing something? No,
and it was like 8 minutes of a dude basically explaining like how the movie dives into like humans' relationship with like their nature and like I was just like watching this video and I was like, that's literally like every horror movie because it's talking about like humans versus their primal instincts, and it's like, I mean, you can basically, it's just trying to be a more highbrow version of, like, the same slasher trope of, like, you fuck, you get fucked. Like.
And I get that that's an interesting, like, theme for some people, but it's not elevated in any way. It's not, explored in any.
It's just dragged out, and it's like, they think because it's done slower, it's better. And it's like, it's not. Like,
and I like slow horror movies, but this one, it doesn't do anything with the like slowness. It doesn't do anything with the patience.
Yeah, I feel like it's trying to be one of those movies that like builds up to like one climactic scene. And I do think that the final sequence where like they come and take Frank back, like that part, I think that part's pretty good. Like I like.
It's one of the one times that I think it accurately like describes and shows like ultimate pain, ultimate pleasure. Mm-hmm. Like his weird distortion of his face from like pain into pleasure and to joy, I think is pretty good. Yeah. And I think it's the one time in pretty much the entire franchise that I think they accurately do that. The rest is just pain. Like, that's stupid. That's literally, they talk about it in the first fucking movie.
Yeah. And it's just like, the sequel is definitely like, instead of being
it's
like
scary. I'm like, it's not supposed to. It's not. It doesn't have to be scary. You don't have to.
Yeah, horror doesn't have to be scary. That's a stupid.
And this puzzle box that people get, you don't have to make it scary for all of them. Make someone be like, yeah, fuck yeah. I mean, that's interesting. Explore that. What if the Cenobites just find someone that's like, hell yeah, let's fucking do this.
Yeah, there's a Robot Chicken sketch that fucking does that, where it's like Girls Gone Wild, and then like it's like they accidentally summon it, and then it like rips their skin off, and they're like, woo! Like, yeah! And Pinhead's just like, oh gosh, like, okay, cool. But yeah, not once in any of these movies do they like find anybody who's truly just masochistic enough to like enjoy any of this, which I found very weird. You think they would have eventually done that in one of the sequels, but no. So they decided to remake the same fucking movie like 4 fucking times. We'll get there though.
It's not even the good one.
No, I know.
Like, what the fuck?
I know. Oh god.
But yeah, I think like the weird like bird monster thing that like flies at them, that's kind of fun looking.
Oh yeah, the dragon thing at the end that I think is meant to be the devil.
Yeah, like it's dumb.
It's the homeless guy.
Yeah. The Cenobites,
Which is, I'm always so weirded out by that Pinhead became like the popular one because I think he has the worst design of the four.
Yeah.
I like the weird Shatterer guy. It's like that guy's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think the lady with just the open neck one is the worst to look at. Like, that is the only thing that ever does that for me. I think they try to do that again in the new one.
Yeah.
But it's too much going on that it doesn't, like, you just need that. And it's like,
yeah.
And then the guy with the funny glasses. He's funny.
Yeah, the slug guy.
Yeah. Like, I like the designs okay. I think Pinhead's is just kind of boring.
Yeah, I think the designs are definitely the strongest element of this movie.
Plus Frank going like, hey, it's me, Frank.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't think Kirsty's a very compelling character.
No.
She's okay. I think maybe the performance by her and Julia are, like, fine, but...
I think Kirsty's performance elevates it a little bit, because I think she is giving a performance. And I think out of all the slashers, she strikes me as the most... she's not even supposed to be, like, a teenager. I think she's supposed to be, like, in college age. But she strikes me as the most, like, teenage energy out of any of them. Like, there's the part where he's like, give me the box! And she's like, no! Like, you want it? And it's just like, yeah, that struck me as something that someone would genuinely probably do in that situation. They're trying to, like, puff themselves up and seem bigger.
Oh, yeah, but at the end of the movie, Frank dies again, and then she gets away. She closes the box, and she runs away.
Yeah, that's another thing I hate. Because she's about to leave, and then the Cenobites are like, we still want you. And then she's
you made a deal. So Cenobites are such bastards.
I can kind of understand that. Personally, I don't mind the fact that they're like that. I think it adds
They're just dickheads.
Yeah. But then all she has to do is just fucking in the box, and they're just like, no! And they go back to hell. And it's like... what's the fucking point of that? That just, like, removes any fucking tension.
Well, don't worry. The Frenchman will tell you.
I can't give a shit. But,
yeah. It's part of the lore.
Hellraiser... I don't think that this movie is actively bad. I just think it's actively boring.
I think it's kind of bad. I don't think it's, like, the worst thing ever. I think it's one of the better ones in the series. I think that it might be the best, like, one of the best, like, well-made, but because of its dullness, there are other ones that are, like, worse movies, but that I like more.
Yeah, no, definitely. But...
yeah, I don't hate it, but I watched this movie and I was like, oh no.
Yeah. That was kind of me last week, because I remembered liking this one, and then I watched it, and I was like...
that wasn't great.
I was like, uh-oh. But, yeah, Hellraiser 1, you would give this 2 out of 10.
Oh, no, I'm at a 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's, like, actively... like, I think it's bad, I don't think it's terrible.
There was a point, because I was keeping track of the ratings as I went along, where I had to, like, re-elevate a couple of them up a notch, because I was like, I have to make...
No, absolutely not. I did not do that.
I had to.
I'm like, absolutely not. They're all... they might be lower than that, but I get what you're saying, though. I think you gave this one a 5?
I did.
Okay. I'm gonna be honest, Hellraiser 2? Hellraiser 2 time? I think this is the worst one in the first, like, 5 or 6. Like, in the first 5. I think it's the worst one.
I agree.
I think this is, like, insulting, too. Like, insulting how bad it is.
The thing that gets me more than anything, this is, like... there are people who love this one more than any of... like, there are people who, like... yeah, 1 and 2 are, like... It's like the same thing with, like, Halloween 1 and 2, where they're, like... it's, like, the same movie. Like, you gotta watch them back to back every time.
And same thing, Halloween 2 sucks.
Yeah,
or, like, I at least, like...
the last 20 minutes are pretty good.
Yeah, if you just put that at the end, I'd be like, sure, Halloween 1 plus the last 20 minutes, cool. Yeah. The rest, bad.
Yeah.
This one, though, not only do I feel like it
just gets rid of the good stuff of number one. But I also just I don't like Kirsty in this one.
No,
I really, really don't like the portrayal of the mentally ill in this movie.
Definitely.
I'm like, oh great, the entire movie's in an asylum. Really gonna be happy with the portrayal.
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's real bad. I think it's really clunky in how it tries to expand the lore. I really don't feel like I learned any more. It just made me more confused.
Yeah, look at this giant labyrinth. I'm like, okay, kind of cool visually. You didn't give me anything, though.
Yeah, it doesn't really do anything with it.
I don't think they should have brought back Julia at all.
Which makes no fucking sense, because they retcon. They don't even really retcon. They just ignore the fact that the house burned down at the end of the fucking first movie. And so that whole devil, dragon bone thing ending, that's just non-canon. They let her fist stick boyfriend go. Which we didn't even mention in the last one.
Yeah,
she's got a boyfriend
for 5 seconds, and then he shows up at the end.
Zero fucking presence.
Yeah, I forgot about him until we started talking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, there was another character.
Yeah, but they're... He at the beginning of 2, they're just like, yeah, he gave us his statement and we sent him home. And it's like, well, why didn't you do that for Kirsty? I'm sure it sounded like he was saying the same shit that she was, because he had already known about the Cenobites and shit. And he was like, just send him home. We're going to commit you, though. Just fucking what the fuck?
And I guess you could argue that that's
I don't think it's meant to be a commentary.
It's a commentary, but yeah, no, it's just bad storytelling, because they don't do anything with that.
Yeah.
They just needed her in this place.
Yes.
And I don't know why. The doctor character, terrible character. Because there's a lot of clashing tones in this movie, too.
Yeah.
He's this, kind of big, over-the-top villain, but the movie is still, taking itself really seriously.
Yeah, but meanwhile, he's just going around going, "Brr, brr." And it's why is he didn't sing at all when he was a doctor. Why is he singing now? What is that god-awful noise he keeps fucking making?
But he finds, the mattress where Julia died, and then she comes back, and he helps her come back. It's the same fucking movie.
Yeah,
they're just doing it with Julia, which I don't think was a good idea.
I
think he could have just found the box. That's... if you
had 3 of them. It's what the fuck? And I don't know if those are supposed... I think they're all supposed to be real. I think the implication is that there are multiple boxes out there. Because there's that scene where all the patients...
In number 10...
Yeah, there's that, and also there's the scene where he has all the mental patients in the beds doing them, and they got little hooks in their face. And he just comes along and kills them. Doesn't even let them open the boxes. And it's well, what was the fucking point of that? And also, it's then why did you need... I don't know. It's rough. Fucking...
But I think this one is also just really, really fucking boring.
It's really boring, and it's just really poorly made. There are points where it wants to be very stream of consciousness, but it doesn't know how to do that effectively, because when I first watched it, I was watching it with Lucero. We were both watching it, and we talk a little bit during the movie, nothing major, but here and there, we might make a comment or something, but if you did that or looked away for a second, you would miss shit. I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? To the point where, the climax of the movie, the first time I watched it, I had to rewatch it, which I'm glad I did, because otherwise I wouldn't have known what the fuck happened here. The first time we saw it, it just looked like the doctor, stuck his fucking things into the ground, and then was just huh, and then died, and we were like, what the fuck just happened? It didn't even click right away when I rewatched it. I was like, what the fuck happened there? Oh, it's because 30 seconds earlier she solved the puzzle box, but it's such a delayed reaction. Because he's making out with Julia, who is actually Kirsty and Julia's skin, which came off earlier in the movie.
Yeah, there's this. Why did you do that? What's the point?
Also this whole part where the mute girl is reaching for Julia, because she's got the fucking box at that point, and they need it so she can solve it. But then as soon as Julia is actually gone, they just leave the box with her skin, and it's why didn't you just go and grab it? You went through all that effort. And then later in the movie, it's a plot point where they need to go back and grab it. And it's That's the kind of really storytelling that just makes me want to fucking bash my head.
Also, this was a good opportunity to give Julia some sort of redemption if you're gonna bring her back, because she was the one character in one which kind of had like nuance to her. Like a smidgen. Like you could see her feel bad about things. Mm-hmm. But then she just wants to kill Kirsty. She just like, what?
Yeah, there's like that terrible line she has where she's like, it seems that the evil stepmother has been promoted to the role of evil queen. And it's like, that's awful dialogue. Like, that is so bad. Like, it's not catchy, it doesn't stick with me, and it's just kind of just bad exposition. But, sure, whatever. You're the evil queen now. And then you get fucking sucked up by a vacuum hallway. And it's like, okay. Frank's in the movie for like 20 seconds. That's pointless and gross. Fucking
Pinhead, the fucking fight scene. They like have they're like getting ready to fight this doctor who's like a horrible mutant man now.
That was another thing that I missed the first time I saw it. I was like, why did the doctor just kill all the fucking Cenobites?
It's like instantaneous. They're like, it's time for a fight.
Yeah.
And
because I didn't realize that they were posing up. There's no words for like, we're going to help you now. They just kind of like
they just start walking, and then he's like, finally a fight. And then he just destroys them.
Yeah.
Instantly. I'm like, well, you just made all of these Cenobites look like fucking idiots.
Yeah. And then Pinhead, for no reason, is the only one who's like regressed in like
and alive.
He dies.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm here now. Like, why?
Yeah, it's like, what's the fucking point of this? It serves no grand point. As much as
it's
I
like,
don't...
look, the Chatterer was a kid.
Yeah,
like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, as much as I don't like 3, at least that one tried to fucking actively do something with the split Pinhead personality. But, yeah, it's just like, what the fuck is... I don't know. I don't like this movie.
The fuck is this franchise? No, I really actively hated this movie.
Yeah.
I think it's a bad sequel. I think it's a bad movie on its own. I don't like its portrayal of like the mentally ill. I don't like its portrayal of the fucking Cenobites that, even though they've only been in one movie, already feel like, okay, they suck now.
Yeah.
I don't like the doctor. I don't like Julia returning.
Yeah. There's a real scary scene where there's a bunch of people in a fucking like hot well, and they've got like a motion echo on them. Scary stuff. Truly frightening. Like, yeah, this movie's just fucking awful. It's bad.
I was so scared after this because I'm like, are they all gonna be this terrible? And they weren't all this terrible.
No.
They were all bad, but...
Yes. But, yeah, this one's truly its own special brand of fucking awful. Because, yeah, once you get into the second half, once they open the box and go to hell, it's literally just fucking random events. Like, there is no chain, like, cause and effect. It's just characters running around. There will be a scene where this happens. Or
yeah, they're just like, what would be cool here? And then it's not cool.
And it's just like, it's just so
I kind of like the labyrinthian, like, look of it, and I like the big rhombus in the sky, but...
in concept, but ultimately it just leads to them just running around a bunch of fucking gray-blue hallways.
Yeah.
And it's like... see, maybe, like, I don't know, it's hell. Why don't you fucking have them go... like, they visit a couple hell points where it's like, oh, this is, like, your personal hell. And it's some of the most boring shit. It's like, oh... like an LSD hallucinogen of a fucking carnival for the mute girl. Like a fucking... like Kirsty's old fucking room or something. And then it's like Frank's fucking little den of temptation. And it's just like... all of that was fucking boring. Like, none of it... take me to like a fucking room of hellfire or something. Like something more visually different from what's going on here. Mm-hmm. But no. Yeah, so what ends up happening is, yeah, they go in, they solve the fucking puzzle box, and the doctor fucking dies. And then at the very last second of the movie, after fucking Kirsty and the mute girl escape, and they leave the hospital, you just get a cut to a random room somewhere where a pillar comes up and it's got all the fucking dead Cenobites' faces.
Yeah. Oh no, it was the same bed from earlier.
Oh yeah,
from the beginning.
Yeah, that's right.
But now, a big
house.
pillar made of faces comes out.
No reason.
No reason.
It's the guy, he bleeds on it, right? Probably.
The like moving people come in, right?
Yeah.
Or was that at the beginning? That was
the moving people are the ending.
Of this one?
Yeah,
okay.
that's...
he doesn't even bleed on it. He just puts his hand on it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just introduced this fucking concept. You can't just immediately retcon this. And they do that with like everything.
Yeah, and it's like, why do all the Cenobites didn't die on this bed? They died in hell. What are they coming up for?
Yeah, and why? I thought they regressed to being human. Why are they now Cenobites again?
Yeah, I don't know. This movie's bad. It's real bad.
It's real bad.
And if anyone tells you otherwise, they're stupid or lying.
Or they just like different things.
No.
Like my friend Caleb, who for some reason likes the Terrifier movie.
They're stupid or lying. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, but it's rough. We found it to be extremely rough.
Yeah, I don't get it, but well, I can see on like the surface level what people would like from this movie if they just like Cenobite designs and boring long walks through labyrinth hallways.
I'm just saying, this one doesn't have a guy with a camera for an eye.
No, it doesn't. But yeah, God.
I think you're gonna give this one a 2?
Yeah. You're gonna give it a 1.
Yeah. Wasn't having a good time with this one.
No.
But 3, however, I know you just said you don't like this. I don't like this one, but I think at the very least they're trying something, and there are parts I do like.
See, I think my biggest problem with this one is it turns its greatest strength into its greatest weakness. And that pissed me off. The only thing throughout the entire movie I was ever fucking latched onto in any capacity was like the fucking not lesbian relationship between the two female leads.
I think it does it okay. It doesn't finish it, but I think it works for the beginning.
Yeah, and I honestly thought it was gonna like get to the point where it's gonna be like, oh, like these two characters are gonna have to face off because they each were like working with their retrospective Doug Bradley. The news anchor was like working with fucking what's his name? Good Pinhead, and she was working with bad Pinhead.
Captain.
I figured
something.
I figured their forced little I'm taking this job somewhere, which caused her to fucking be like, oh, fine, and then leave for no reason. And it's like, okay, this was never even set up in the first place, so it's bad in that regard. And also, it's just like, you could have like a 2-minute conversation and sort all of this out. But no, you never get a chance to.
I fucked up the webcam.
Uh-oh.
I gotta pause it. We'll be right back for more Screen Weens. Welcome back to Screen Weens, where we're talking about Hellraiser number 3.
Yeah.
Which is maybe, I think this might be my favorite one.
I'm not.
I get it. I think tonally, it is at least a little more cohesive. It doesn't take itself as seriously.
Yeah.
Like, it has a little bit of humor to it. Also, humor that I think is genuinely funny at times. She goes into a church later on. Well, I think Pinhead's following her or something. And she's like, please, there's a demon after me. He's like, the priest's like, demons aren't real. And she's like, then what the fuck is that?
Yeah, I think I was just so taken aback by the priest going, demons aren't real. I'm like, he wouldn't admit that. He might believe that, but he would not say that out loud to somebody. Unless he was a real shitty priest. But yeah, he's just like, yeah, demons aren't real, they're metaphorical. And then she's like, what the fuck is that? And then Pinhead like breaks all the fucking windows. And it's like, oh, yep, that's a demon. But, yeah, the plot of this one is that there is journalists trying to get a scoop for something. She's like a news anchor who can't really she's looking for that serious story to get some real news cred, which leads her into, oh god, I don't even fucking remember. She's trying to like follow up a fucking lead on like a murder or a disappearance or something. I don't fucking know, but it leads her to like befriending this one girl who's trying to get away from the scene. Oh yes, I remember. Some guy at the hospital just like fucking blew up on the operating table. Very supernatural looking.
That's right.
And then she's like, I need to figure out who that guy was. So then she ends up meeting the only person that she recognized who went to the hospital with him. And we still don't ever find out, like, I don't think we ever find out who the fuck that guy was or what her relationship to him was. But whatever. But yeah, so they form a friendship, and then she gets a job offer on her telephone when she's not home, and her friend overhears this and gets real upset and goes over to her ex-boyfriend, who is like this fucking rich guy.
J.P. Monroe of the Monroe family.
Yeah, and he's got the pillar from the last movie that came out from Julia's bed. And he's like, yep. And he's feeding it people. He feeds it one person, and then he tries to feed it her, and then she feeds him to the pillar.
And then she becomes sexy.
And then, yeah, off screen.
I will say, I think, like, if you're gonna... Because there's always been, like, a... You know, there's supposed to be, like, a sexiness element. I think she probably looks the sexiest of all the Cenobites.
I don't. She literally just has a cigarette sticking out of her fucking neck.
That's fine. That's hot. I'm down.
I mean, it just doesn't... It doesn't strike me in any fashion. Like, I don't think it's a creative Cenobite.
No,
design.
I don't either, but I maybe it's just because I thought she was hot, so
Yeah,
I'm like...
she is a very attractive woman.
I will say the main character is... she's played by one of the main characters main actresses in Deep Space Nine.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she plays Dax in Deep Space Nine.
I wish I've seen Deep Space Nine at this point, because then I would have enjoyed
like,
that.
hey, it's her.
It would have carried me through the movie.
But I like the lead of this more as a character than Kirsty.
Oh, well, yeah, that's not hard.
And I thought the performance was fine. I like Terry as a character. I think they kind of really whiff it towards the end. They really kind of just...
The fuck is Harry?
Terry? That's the girl that...
I thought you said Harry.
No.
I was like...
Harry Potter. The boy who lived.
Harry from Dumb and Dumber?
Yeah,
Can you
and
imagine
Lloyd.
a movie where they find...
That'd be good. That'd be good right there.
Yeah, I'd watch that. Oh. Why couldn't that have been a fucking Hellraiser sequel?
Hellraiser versus Dumb and Dumber.
Although, I guess that kind of is the dynamic of one of the later ones, but we'll get into that. Yeah. Hellraiser 3. Guy gets camera shoved in his head. That's probably like the best of all the post-2 designs that comes to mind.
Because it's like goofy, but it's kind of fun. And
yeah,
I think it looks pretty good right around the eye itself.
I think it looks fucking awful, but in a funny way.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I mean by pretty good. Pretty good in the sense that it's fun to look at.
Yeah. Because, like, I can't think of any...
The top of his head is, like, bulging out. It's like...
Yeah, I can't think of any Cenobite designs that I like post the core 4 of the original. They're really, like, there's
well, I don't know why the fuck they got rid of it. Like, what was the point?
I think it's because they wanted to, like, incorporate the Borg aspect, where it's, like, they're turning people into Cenobites actively, and they wanted to, like, do that. So if they wanted to do that somewhat organically, I guess they just felt like they needed new Cenobites for every movie. I think they could have gotten away with doing, like, one new Cenobite per movie. They didn't have to fucking remake the fucking Pinhead Squad every single fucking time, because obviously fans didn't like it, seeing how later on they put the Chatterer back in at the very least, because that's, like, arguably the second most popular Cenobite design after Pinhead.
They need to make more Cenobites hot. They need to make them, like, ugly and freaky, but hot enough that you're, like, you're scared that you're intrigued. Like, that's the point, you know? That's it's supposed to be scary yet, like, alluring. And you need the Cenobites to also be like, oh, that looks fucked up. But I kind of want to fuck them. You know?
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily get that from any of them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, make them hot. Like, you can still have, oh god, they got a giant fucking spear through their head, or they got, you know, their nipples torn off or something, but maybe, like, you know, hey, I want to kind of fuck them, though.
Yeah. But, yeah, Hellraiser 3, this movie ends the same way the first one does. She picks up the box and goes, and they all go, no! And then they go back to hell.
And then she survives, and she lives, and she's never seen again.
And she tosses the
escapes.
Configuration into a fucking wet cement pool that's just there in the middle of the night with no one attending it. It's like,
there's not even a little thing around it or anything.
No, it's just like
when did they put this wet cement, and why is it still wet?
Yeah, it's like, okay, sure. And then they build
and then they put the evil building around.
It looks like the lament configuration, and it's like, cool, great, wonderful.
And then and then she never returns to the franchise to have a horrible retelling of her character.
Nope. Thankfully not.
Speaking of yeah. Pretty bad movie, but entertaining enough for me. Like, they do enough new stuff. And I think it looks okay.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of Pinhead just walking around, like, New York or wherever the fuck they are. Like, I think that's very funny. I also like the part where she's just, like, running away and everything's fucking exploding. And you can see people just walking in the background and going, like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of funny stuff in this movie. So I would say this is probably maybe my favorite of them. Because it is at least engaging to me.
That's fair. I can see why. I think I'm just so butthurt about what they did to Larry?
Terry.
I
don't even mind that idea that she, like, lost this will. They just don't. They do it off screen. She shows up for 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's very quick. If they had, like, done it in a more effective way, I'd probably be less mad at it.
Or even if, like, they had a, like, final confrontation. But they don't really get anything, you know? No. They're just like, oh, she fell.
She's just like, Terry.
Bye.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, great, cool. But whatever. I guess I'm expecting too much from these movies. You would give this one 3 out of 10.
4, yeah. I think you'll give this one out. Oh, it's got to be better than the second one, right? 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the space one. Hellraiser 4. You know?
Bloodline. This one?
I think that the space stuff is fine. Like, it's dumb, but it's engaging enough.
Yeah.
If it was more just space stuff, I'd be fine with it. It's just, like, pretty boring when it's not the space stuff.
Yeah, this one used to be my least favorite sequel from what I remembered of watching them when I was a kid. And I can see why. I think I struggled with that fucking French beginning, just because, you know, you're a kid and it's like,
the French.
Old, like, 18th century France.
France.
They're all wearing powdered wigs and makeup. They aren't. They aren't. But
they just look like regular guys that got a Party City costume.
Yeah. Adam Scott before he was mega famous. But yeah, it's just like, yeah. Honestly, I think that this one has a very interesting concept. I like the idea of, like, the fucking Cenobites having, like, a fucking blood feud with somebody over the span generations, like some very JoJo's Bizarre Adventure kind of shit.
It's like, they were the one that created the box! I'm like, that's stupid, I'm in.
Yeah, I think the box creation thing pretty dumb. I think it's a bad decision just from a practical standpoint.
Yeah.
The box works 99% on mystique. And if you're just giving blatant answers of, yes, this box is from the fucking, 18th century, then that's not that old. That's like fucking 300 fucking years before this movie was made.
That's how long the box has been around.
It's like, okay, cool. And they incorporate some interesting concepts, like a princess of hell and like weird political shifts.
They never brought her back. Okay.
Well, it's because she got turned into a Cenobite.
That's right.
Yeah. At the end of the second one into the third one. But, yeah, so this one's comprised of basically 3 short Hellraiser movies, which is kind of awful when you're watching it, because you're like, oh my god.
You're like, I'm not watching 11 Hellraiser movies, I'm watching 13!
Yeah, it's not great, but honestly, it's not as actively awful as I remember, and it's not as actively awful as some of the sequels.
Yeah, like, I think it's a pretty terrible movie, but...
I don't think it's great.
I think the future stuff is the best part. I really like the ending. I think it's so fucking stupid that I'm like completely on board with it.
Yeah, it's almost like just like this far away from being like Dracula 3000 levels of like Korn.
But I don't think that really mixes with the other 2 stories.
No.
Which are played pretty like safe and pretty just like this is just a standard Hellraiser story.
Yeah, it's basically guy creates box, decides he's like, I don't like that this box is being used for portal summoning, and then
like, what the fuck did you create it for? Did you not know what you were creating?
No, he was just commissioned. He's like,
and I'm like, how do you create a portal box then? Like, how did he do that?
Did he give you the design? Did you design it? Like, what? You never know.
And like, that doesn't, either scenario doesn't make any sense.
So I think he created the puzzle box, and he was a magician, so I think he just put dark magic into it, but it's like, that didn't seem to be what they were inferring, but I don't fucking know. Fuck you, Alan Smithy. Or whoever the fuck actually directed this.
It's really weird that this is the only one with the Alan Smithy name on it, because I'm like,
yeah, it's like,
what? This is like God tier in comparison to some of these.
Yeah, it really is. It's like
because even like the like more boring ones aren't like atrocious. Like I like the scenario ones, like the 2 shorts in this. That aren't like the French one is fine. I like this Princess of Hell aspect, like you said. I don't really go anywhere with it that's interesting, but she's fine enough. I like that she's using like pretty much sex with this guy. Like they're fine. They're actually like using sex in the movie again.
The big theme is seduction versus fucking. Basically, like, fear as a tactic.
Like, at the very least, they explore concepts that seem like they should be explored in a fucking Hellraiser movie that have never been done. I'm like, this is the 4th fucking movie. Mm-hmm. So, at the very least, they do that. I don't think it's handled super well. I'm going to be honest. Pinhead is a character I don't like, but I don't think Doug Bradley is, like... I don't think he really does anything for the role.
You better be fucking kidding.
Like,
I'm right there. He's just a guy.
I'm like, he left. I'm like, I think he's better than the guy in Revelations, but
yeah, you don't really get a whole lot from the guy in Judgment. The guy in Judgment seems serviceable.
Yeah, I honestly think if the guy in Judgment was in the first one, he probably would have been better than Bradley. Yeah, because I think he has a little more interesting physicality than Bradley.
Yeah, Bradley's just got a very just plain guy kind of look to him.
And I'm like, I guess you could argue that that's what's scary about Pinhead is he looks like a regular guy, but I'm like, I don't want my freaky weirdo murder man to look like a regular guy, especially if he has fucking pins in his head.
And his accent for the first 2 movies is like pseudo Schwarzenegger. Like, it's like he's trying to do that kind of a voice.
And it drops him.
Yeah, and then in the third movie, he just kind of goes, and onwards, just kind of...
I think my favorite performance is in 3 and 4.
Yeah, probably.
Because after that, I feel like he's literally just kind of showing
I
up.
forgot about my favorite part of 2, where they first show up, and he's just like, no! And the one son of us like, no? And he's like, no! That part was funny. Best part of 2 by a lance. But, yeah, Hellraiser Bloodline.
Yeah, I think the space stuff is fun enough. I think the other 2 are kind of boring. And I think the movie overall, structurally, a fucking mess. But it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, it's really bad, but it's fine in comparison to Hellraiser.
Yeah, no.
It's fine in the context.
Yeah. Yeah, these movies.
I'm gonna watch like any fucking movie after this and be like, this movie's incredible.
I guarantee it doesn't work. I went straight from these into fucking Terrifier, and I was like, no, not quite what I was hoping for.
Okay, I'll watch any fine movie and it'll be incredible.
Yeah.
Has to hit a certain threshold there.
Yeah.
I really, honestly, every time I finish one of these movies, I'm like, I should go watch From Beyond.
No, yeah, because From Beyond is basically like just the first Hellraiser movie, but done way fucking better.
And instead of more of the, like, pain is sex is pain, you got, you know. Also, Crimes of the Future, the new Cronenberg movie, also has similar themes, like, which I think is a much better movie. I think it looks kind of ass, but I thought the first Hellraiser kind of looked ass, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to say about Bloodline. That's gonna be a recurring theme for the next 7 movies, or 6, I guess. I guess I have stuff to talk about with the new one, but yeah. Do you have anything else to say about Bloodline? All right, I think you're gonna give it another 3. Cool.
I think you're sitting at probably a 3.
Yeah, I'm at 3. Oh yeah, I forgot to say what happens at the end. They shoot away, and Pinhead's still on the. He tricked Pinhead because there was a hologram of him, and he's like, "Hey, watch this!" And the fucking space station folds into a giant cube, and that's just complete light to destroy. He's like, "Welcome to oblivion." I'm like, "That's fucking stupid." Great
canonical ending for the Hellraiser.
And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense when watching like 10.
Well, yeah, it's because we're missing
like 10 movies.
Yeah, there's still so much time in between. That.
We should make a Hellraiser movie. I think we could do a better one than at least 5 of them.
I think that, honestly, we could do a better job than... At doing bare minimum effort, I'm sure we could probably just pull a fucking better movie out of our asses than maybe more than 2 of them. Meaning, like, all but 2 of them. But... Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about Hellraiser Inferno. This is directed by Scott Derrickson, who would go on to direct Doctor Strange and The Black Phone, which The Black Phone's very good.
Mm-hmm.
Him as a director, I'm not a huge fan of Doctor Strange. He did, I think, Exorcism of Emily Rose. Is that the one he did? He did one of the blank of blank movies. I think it was that one, which I didn't end up seeing that one. But he's a fine director. This was his first, like, feature-length film. Wow, you got the keys to the Hellraiser franchise. Wow, it's like fucking, here's the keys to this ship that's already underwater.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's a bad movie. Yeah. But I guess, like, it's trying something. Like, again, at least I can't fault it for trying something.
Yeah. This movie is ambitious. It's got a pretty interesting concept baked into its ending. And I think I appreciate this one because it's really just trying to be a David Lynch movie. Yeah. And I like that. It gave me something to grip on.
Yeah, it's like a noir kind of thriller about this cop who,
it's kind of like a Lost Highway-esque.
Yeah, he's like chasing after this killer called the Engineer, and he's trying to find these people, and he just can't seem to do it. And it just feels like this engineer guy's just like 2 steps ahead of him at all times. But he keeps getting these clues and he keeps getting so close. And then it turns out it's him. But is it really? Or is it Pinhead?
Yeah. And then, he's just in basically, I don't know where to fucking start with this one. So he's a scumbag. He's like a cop.
Yeah, he's a cop, but he's like actively corrupt. He's actively like a bad dude.
He wins a chess game, so we know he's very intelligent. And then he goes on to screw over his partner. Basically, he goes out and cheats on his wife one night, and then gets a call from her the next day as she's actively being murdered, and he goes back to the motel room to find...
Not his wife, the person.
Yeah, the person he was cheating on her with. Goes back to the hotel room and finds her, body mutilated in the shower, so he, brings in his, partner, who he's been super close with for years, who, against his better judgment, decides, he's like, yeah, okay, I guess I can help you wipe the prince off this fucking place. But knowing that he's probably going to change his mind and want to, report the truth to the fucking chief, he decides to fucking plant some of his shit there as, a backup in case this guy tries to fucking rat him out. So he's just... That action alone, if cheating on his wife wasn't enough, screwing over his partner like that is just oh, damn, even the cops watching this are going to fucking hate this guy. Because they're all about that fucking, we're in this together, always help a fellow police officer out kind of a mentality. But, so he begins looking for this engineer, and it keeps spiraling and seeming more like he's the killer, and then it's revealed, oh no, it's his police therapist. And oh no, that police therapist is actually Pinhead. And I actually don't fucking remember how it wraps back around. He dies or something, and then he wakes up. And
he's shot, or let me just check. But he wakes up back in the motel pretty much.
Yeah, he's like, oh, cool. And then as soon as he realizes that he's repeating the same events he just went through, he tries to shoot himself, and then he wakes back up in the hotel and finds out he's in hell on a fucking loop of this section of his life. So basically just watching the movie over and over and over again, which I do not envy him for, because I would not be able to do that, even if this is one of the arguably better Hellraiser sequels. I still wouldn't be able to fucking watch this over and over again.
I think he's the therapist reveals he's Pinhead. He's I'm the manifestation, me, the therapist, the manifestation of all your sins and stuff, and the child they're trying to save. Yeah, that's your hopes. That's what you're good at. But because of you, I'm slowly killing it. It's kind of dumb, but the dialogue is kind of dumb. The idea I'm fine with. And that's one thing I appreciate about this movie is it actually has
tries to have some fucking themes.
Yeah, and some ones that haven't really been covered. They're going for something here. Mm-hmm. But then he gets hooked and stuff. That's how he dies. The Pinhead's look at me, and then he wakes up and he repeats the cycle.
This one is still bad, but it's not bad. It's not the fucking bowels of Hellraiser yet.
I think the structuring of it leads me to I think it's fun enough to watch as it's going, it's engaging enough, but thinking back to it, I'm I don't really fucking remember most scenes in this movie. Yeah. I remember the final scene where he wakes up and he's oh no. I remember the confrontation with the people, and I remember the first phone call with the woman who's just I need help, and I'm oh god, that was probably one of the more effective kills, because it's just off screen.
Yeah. There's one scene that has been on repeat, just free real estate in my mind all fucking week. And it's towards the end, he's trying to go save his fucking family. And there's actually a pretty cool scene with his family on the fucking pillar in the frozen winter living room that I thought was that's some pretty cool imagery. But before he gets to that point, he's like going through this like apartment building where he's basically just he has to basically like re-kill all of the victims of this killer so far that he has some sort of a connection to. There's a point where it's his partner who has been killed, and he's got a bunch of like knives in his back. Oh, I wonder what that's supposed to be a fucking symbol for. But he begins to pull the knives out of his back and just starts tossing them at the guy, and he dodges the first couple. But then one just lands in his leg, and he just instantly, without a beat, just like looks down, looks up, goes, "Ah!" And then shoots the gun. And it's like that noise exactly. And it was like, I rewound that part like 5 times because I thought it was like the funniest shit ever. And that, I will say, that 1-2-second scene in this movie actually made it all worth it. I thoroughly enjoyed that. But yeah, the rest of this movie, just kind of okay. There are those weird Cenobites that have like the weird like needle chin hairs things.
Oh yeah.
I think no, it's the 4th one that had the twins.
They're like fused with the guy. That was dumb.
Yeah, that was fucking stupid. But I'm trying to think of yeah, this one is just kind of alright. You follow a shitty character, does a shitty job doing detective work, and then he dies and realizes he has to do it over and over again.
Yeah.
It's bad, but at least they're going. At least they're going for something.
This is the first entry of. I don't know officially how many they did this for. I can tell you how many it feels like they did this for, but where they basically took a script that they owned.
Was it this one, or was it the next one?
No, it's this one and onwards where they took scripts that weren't originally Hellraiser scripts and they kind of lightly rewrote it. Like, when you watch this, it's like, oh yeah, this is not meant to be this. And then the last chunk, you can tell that they like, all right, we're going to just write Pinhead in. So yeah, that's kind of the big theme for these next movies, because the way that they incorporate the Cenobites and the Hellraiser aspects is by just kind of dabbling them in a couple scenes throughout the movie and then having the main character question their sanity.
I will put a caveat on what you just said about this being... So apparently Doug Bradley has come out saying that this was originally not Hellraiser-like script, but Scott Derrickson, the director and the writer for this one, he's like, no, we wrote it as a Hellraiser sequel.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm more compelled to be like, Scott Derrickson's probably right, because Doug Bradley probably just doesn't remember. There's like 4 of them that they did that for.
Yeah.
So I could, I know for sure the next one is.
Yeah.
And it feels like a copy of this movie too.
Yes.
So.
I will say that this one does feel like it though.
I would agree with that. Which is kind of more interesting, at least in this way. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. You're gonna give this one a 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gonna give it a 3 as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a low 3.
Well,
time for the best trilogy. Ricky Boda or something like that.
Yeah, Ricky Boda. I'm pretty sure that's the guy's name. Rick Boda.
Let's check. Rick Boda, yeah.
Yep. He directed 6 through 8, and he shot 7 and 8 back to back, which actually kind of surprised me.
They came out the same year, too.
Yeah, they came out the same year. It's like the X and Pearl of that year, except way fucking worse. Yeah.
So this is the same movie, but it takes the only character that has ever appeared in this movie besides Pinhead that came in multiple...
A legacy character.
Yeah, they brought back Kirsty, and they made her evil? Well, not evil, but they just
They made her very petty.
Yeah, I'm like, this doesn't really track with the character, but it's also just a boring character, and they don't utilize her because she's not the main character.
Yeah, this movie basically kind of does what Resurrection does to Jamie Lee Curtis's character, where it's like she's introduced less time than she gets in Resurrection, at least in the start. I'd say as a whole probably amounts to the same amount of screen time, but there's an end reveal. Spoiler. But, yeah, her character's quickly killed off, and then we follow her boyfriend, the Allstate commercial guy, for...
Yeah, mayhem.
Yeah, for the rest of the movie, and he basically just can't remember what happened.
It's the same fucking movie that we just watched.
Yeah,
pretty much.
It's basically the same movie we just watched with, like, hints of fucking Memento in it, and it's like... Yeah, it's not good.
Oh, it's exhausting talking about these movies.
Yeah, this one I'm just gonna fucking skirt right by. It's the same as the last one.
Except he's not a detective.
Yeah, he's not a detective.
And Kirsty's in it for 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's more of the Gone Girl dynamic where he's being detected because he fucking killed his wife, and his coworker. Apparently, I'm just gonna spill the beans on what's going on. He basically like didn't want to deal with the repercussions, so like. The box makes it so he forgets shit after it fucking happens, so he doesn't really have to deal with the repercussions. Same with, like, Kirsty's body is gone, but basically Pinhead's like, you're just kicking the can down the road. Eventually, this is all just gonna come back and burst at the same time, but he doesn't remember that, because it's, like, part of his fucking spiel. And yeah, so at the end, it all comes tumbling down. We find out that he and his coworker were planning on, like, killing Kirsty and taking her inheritance because Frank and her father left her a lot of money. Cool. And then, yeah, he basically just forgets about it, and then a bunch of people fucking die around him, and he's like, I didn't do it. It was the Cenobites or whatever, and it was sanity questions. I don't know.
Secretly,
these movies fucking bleed.
Well, and it shows Kirsty at the end, and she's actually the one that survived the car crash, and he's been dead, or he's in the box or something. It's not really, it's a script that is very loosely worked around to make it a Hellraiser movie.
Yeah, he's dead because his body... Here's the one compliment I will give this movie. I actually kind of like the ending. I liked them pulling his body out of the fucking lake and, like, having the reveals of, like, there's that nice woman who talks to him who we find out is, like, the coroner.
Yeah.
Who was, like,
why are you talking to a dead body?
Yeah, and I respect that. That's not something where it's like, like, it just strikes me as a concept that somebody would actually do in real life. I could see a coroner being like...
I feel like I would do that if I was a coroner.
Yeah, because I believe that, you know, when you're dead, like, your brain goes through a period of, like, basically just leaking chemicals where it's kind of conscious, kind of not. So, like, you know, for a certain amount of time until you're actually brain dead, you're probably processing certain things going on around you. So
don't worry, when you're dead, I will play you the soundtrack to Terrifier 2.
Yeah, just put your phone against a rock or something right against my eyes and just start playing Terrifier. Here you go, a nice comfortable note to go out on.
And then you wake up.
Yeah.
Like, no!
Yeah, just...
No?
Oh, please.
Yeah, it's really bad. I don't like what they do with Kirsty's character. I think the ending is maybe the best part.
I don't hate what they do with her character because I never liked her character to begin with. So it's like, it doesn't feel like it's character sabotage.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily character sabotage. I think it's just boring. Like, it's I'm like, why make this Kirsty? Like, why bring her back?
Because
for 5 minutes. Who was waiting for Hellraiser 6? And who was like, well, I wasn't going to see it, but since Kirsty's back. Like, was there anyone?
No, I'm sure there was probably a section of the fan base, knowing just how horror fan bases and, you know, those first two movies are, like, so regarded by so many fans. So I could see a lot of people being like, oh, Kirsty's going to be back. It's going to be like the new Nightmare or the Elm Street 3 of fucking Hellraiser, but it was not. It was...
Man, Nightmare 3 so good.
It is. Nightmare 3 is...
That's a good movie.
It's the height that none of the other Nightmare movies could ever fucking live up to. Because apparently it's... It doesn't strike me as hard. Like, I feel like it'd be... easy to incorporate like the good fantasy elements from like 3 into the other sequels, but they just
That's why I kind of like the fantasy elements of like Terrifier 2. I'm like, yes, it's going to be like that, but it wasn't.
When I was watching it, I was like, are they actually going to give me like what I've been wanting from like an Elm Street movie since 3? And then they didn't really quite get there, but he was making his way there. Like, that angel design, I could see that being like totally badass in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie where it's like, you know, in the dream actually has like real wings. We need somebody out there who's competent and won't just give us a fucking dull remake. Can you just remake Nightmare on Elm Street and make it fucking fun and fantastical? It doesn't have to be scary. Horror properties don't have to be fucking scary. You're not going to scare horror fans. And if general audiences get scared at fucking horror movies, they'll get scared at anything even remotely close to
Yeah, like when he has the long arms.
Yeah. Oh, no, not the long arms. What if I try to run right? He would just reach for me that way, but same if I went left. No.
What if he wants to give me a hug? Yeah, but Hellseeker?
Yeah,
more like Poop Seeker.
Hellseeker, more like Hell Seaman.
Yeah, no, this is
when it starts to get real bad. This is when I would be like, okay, this might be worse than the second one.
Yeah. No, I'm about at that same point. This is where I'm like, oof, this really wasn't doing it for me. 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
1 out of 10.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go.
I think our scores are probably going to be pretty close from this point. I could see maybe one where
I think
one or two.
I think you can probably imagine which one of these that's coming up that I didn't mind.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I didn't mind that one much either.
We'll see if we're talking about something. But first, let's talk about Hellraiser Deader. I will start with something that I will compliment this movie. I think the idea of like a human cult that is centered around like, you know, drug addiction leading to like suicidal thoughts and then like worshiping like Cenobites and like the lamentation configuration, whatever it's fucking called.
Just call it the puzzle.
The puzzle box. I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. I do, however, take issue with the idea that at the end of the movie, they kill off all the addicts because, this is what you wanted. I think that's a horrible, terrible message.
Yes.
In a horrible, terrible movie otherwise, but that really left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah. I don't like this one. It's more of the same.
It's like the same movie again,
yeah.
But this time, like, oh no, there's a cult, but they start going more into like, oh, you're going crazy. Oh, look at this weird dream sequence. I'm like, it's just because they have no budget, and they're like, what if we just kind of shake the camera? Like, they're not doing good like dream sequences or nightmare sequences here. It's just like
I will
random.
Say, I like the door aspect, but that's only because Chainsaw Man literally does that same exact, like, don't open the door. Behind that door is some, like, fucking traumatizing memories that you don't want to cope with right now. But obviously, in Chainsaw Man, I think it's done way better than it's done in this movie. But yeah, I will give this movie one compliment. There's one scene towards the beginning where she breaks into this like cult member's apartment and like it's kind of just like looking around and then she like turns the corner and gasps, and you can see that the woman who lived in the apartment has like hung herself and she's like sitting on the toilet, so she's just
like by like fish line.
Yeah, and I thought like before she went in and started just trying to fucking reach for the shit behind her without touching the body, and they like did a bunch of close-ups, I thought that initial shot where you see it from like the end of the hallway, that struck me as like, oh, like, yeah, you're actually stumbling onto like a real fucking just like accidental suicide or suicide situation. And it actually, like, I thought that was effective, but then they like do the close up on it and start fumbling around with it.
Yeah. No, I would agree with you. I thought I was like, whoa, that looks kind of cool.
But
then kind of horrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
and I'm like, and there it goes.
Yeah. The other scene I like is the one where she has the knife in her back and she can't reach it, so she got to use like the fucking cabinet to kind of like wedge it out. I thought that was also a pretty decent scene. Kind
of weird that she's now a zombie, and like and it's like I am one of the merchant, and it ties into 4 for whatever reason. They're like, what if we make him part of the toy maker family? Like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to make that a thing? We don't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't know. This one's bad. This one just really lacks really anything for me to comment on one way or the other. It's more of the same.
I think the lead actress is at least more compelling than the lead from Hellseeker.
Yeah, the only thing that the Hellseeker guy has going for him is the novelty that he's the Allstate commercial guy.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's the guy from Mayhem.
Yeah, and
I don't think they give him anything to work with, really, but...
No, but once that novelty wears off, it's just like, all right, this character's fucking plank of wood.
Yeah.
At least with her... I mean, she's also kind of a plank of wood.
But at the very least, like... She's at least a little better to watch because she's taking a more active role in this, while in Hellseeker he kind of is just a passenger in these dream sequences, while she's like actively like, I gotta take this knife out of me. Like there's I don't know why I'm like, it feels like I'm kind of defending this movie. I'm not, but
no, I know.
There's at least I think this movie, I think I like it even less than that movie, but there are parts I like. I think both are so fucking bad.
Yes, I'm right there.
But I think for most of it, I was more on board with this one. But the ending really, really left a sour taste in my mouth. I'm like, this is rough. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
But she goes after this cult. She finds out that one of the toy maker's great descendants is like using the box to raise an army of the dead. And she like gets visions of Pinhead, and he's like, you have to let me out of the box so I can fight this guy. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
I'm more pissed about this one where he's like, haha, now I'm gonna kill you. Because I'm like, you actively needed her. You're just being a big dick now. Mm-hmm. Like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
And then he kills all the drug addicts. I'm like, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hellraiser. They're really raising the bar on how shitty a movie can be.
Indeed.
But yeah, deader, more like shittier. No, it's rough. It's rough the whole time. It looks bad. All the characters are bad. Lead is okay. She's trying. I'll give her that. She's trying.
She is trying.
Really weird, like, side plot twist thing of her, like, boss who, like, oh, she's dead. Time to bring in a new one. Like, what? What is going on with that ending? I don't know what the fuck they were implying there. Like, did he know that, like, what?
I don't know. Yeah.
That whole thing was bad. And yeah, most of these, like, dream sequences she's in are just bad. And then she also wakes up in an asylum at one point. I was really worried, but that she just kind of leaves after that. Really terrible movie. What a surprise.
Deader. State of the franchise at that point.
You're going to give this one a 1.
Yeah.
Whoa.
You're also at a 1.
Yep.
Wow.
It's time. Hellraiser Hellworld.
Henry Cavill.
He's hot. He's a fucking asshole, but...
Well, yeah, his character.
I think the worst part of this movie...
No game. Or little to no game.
There's no video game. Yeah, they're not in the game. Yeah. But also,
it's related to Hellraiser.
Well, yeah.
I think at its core, like the script they're working with is probably the best script out of all these. Like, it's fine. It'd be a serviceable movie, I think. I think there's a fine movie in there that's like, I'd watch it on television once and be like, huh, that was okay.
Here are my thoughts on Hellworld. I think it's real close to being, like, on the level of, like, a Halloween Resurrection, which I know that's not high praise. Like, most people hear that and go, like, oh, ew, gross.
What did I think of that movie? I feel like I really didn't like that one.
I don't know what you thought about that one.
Is that the one where he drop kicks?
Yeah, it's Busta Rhymes and Tyra Banks. I love Hellraiser Resurrection because
Halloween.
it is... yes.
Yeah. Maybe I need to rewatch that one.
I love it because it is so fucking just goddamn ridiculous. It's like, we're gonna host like an online reality show where we wander through Michael Myers' house, and it's just stupid. It's like very like Scream inspired. It's totally fucking... It strikes me as like the perfect balance of like being self-aware, but also kind of not. Like Busta Rhymes fucking drop kicks out Michael Myers out a window. There's just a lot of good campy quality to that movie. And this movie almost hits those same notes, but it doesn't quite make it there for me. I think it has some shortcomings. I don't think that there's enough over-the-topness in this particular entry. I think it takes itself just like maybe a tad too seriously.
Maybe just a tad. I don't think it's like as bad as like it takes itself in like the first two.
No, definitely not.
Because it does have some tongue-in-cheekiness. Like it does.
I think it just needed to be a little bit more goofy.
Yeah. But at the very least, which is weird though, because it's still directed by Rick Boda, but at the same time it like feels like a real movie though.
Yeah. I don't know if this one was written from a different script or if they wrote this one. I think that they might have just writ this one because it's got rickety Rick because it's got fucking... I mean, I guess they could have retroactively written in a lot of the fucking like Hellraiser references throughout, but like this movie's got like quite a few.
The Hellworld script is based on a short story called Dark Can't Breathe by Joel Swanson, and was not originally planned as a Hellraiser film. It was reworked in another format. I will say, I think doing that, I think this is the best one to do it.
Yeah.
Oh wow, he wrote. I think he wrote Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Which is not a great one, but
it's still one of the better ones.
Or he did something for Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Yeah, because Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and...
Oh, no, he was the second unit director.
I see. Yeah, because I like 1 and 3. 7 is still better than most. The sequel is not quite as great as I remembered it from when I was a kid.
That's fair. I say I like all three of those.
2, I'd say, is like the next tier of sequel down, where it's like, it's not as bad as what was to come, but it's not good. Then like probably like 6, and then 4 and 5 are like fucking actively just like hurt me.
I think that's pretty much why 5 is so bad.
Yeah, 5 is the worst.
But yeah, I honestly just don't mind this movie. Let me see. I actually made a ranking of these movies. Let me see, because I did it while it was fresh in my head. Yeah, I have it pretty high up. Because so there is this Hellworld that's an online video game that's based on the puzzle box, and it's based on these like torturous things, and the main characters, like one of their best friends killed themselves because they like were convinced it was real. And there are actually like some interesting like dynamics they kind of touch on a little bit in this movie, where they're like, and it isn't in like an over the top way where it's like, oh, video games cause violence, but it's like these things, like when we're so wrapped up in one thing, like our entire support system is based around this video game. Like it does it in a way that's not as cringe as most like media that's like, video games are hurting children.
Yeah.
And then they don't really do anything with it after that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it could have been a lot worse. Yeah. I still don't think it's anything to write home about, but.
I just, in comparison to one of the Hellraiser movies.
Yes.
I'm really reaching here.
I mean, this is probably top 2 Hellraiser movies, top 3 at the very least. I'd say, I like this one a fair amount. If somebody fucking pointed a gun at me and told me I had to sit down and watch one of the Hellraiser movies in the next 2 hours or I was going to die, I'd probably pick this one because it just strikes me as the easiest watch.
I agree. It also, it just has the best, pacing. Mm-hmm. I think it maybe has the best characters because they're kind of just, having fun and, there's...
Yeah, this one doesn't... It follows... Because, obviously the big thing with Hellraiser is, they like to follow, flawed characters. Now... I think they always take it too far. They don't know how to make, flawed characters who are still enjoyable to watch in most cases. I feel like that's not the case with this one. I feel like these guys, while there's nothing inherently stand out about any of these characters, they don't strike me as, awfully bad people, just maybe people who made a mistake at some point in their past that they're kind of trying to deal with. Obviously, Henry Cavill's a fucking prick in the movie.
Yeah, but even then, he's not actively evil.
He doesn't deserve eternal damnation for his actions.
Well, and I think I'm gonna be honest. I think the twist of this movie is pretty good for a Hellraiser movie specifically.
For a Hellraiser movie specifically, sure. But that being said, I don't like the twist of this movie. That was the point where I was like, okay.
So the twist of the movie being that they were all drugged at the beginning of the party and they were all pretty much just outside in coffins, hallucinating these things.
I especially hate when it shows the way that they were all drugged, and then when it's the drink and the perfume, it's okay. But then it gets to the fucking card that he's holding and the ink on the card.
That, I think, I'm why didn't you just all have them drinks? That would have been fine.
Especially since he said that he outright just straight up just drugged a couple of them just by brute force. And it's why didn't you just fucking do that? I don't get it.
No, I like that. I think I would have liked the twist more if Pinhead never showed up. Whatsoever. I think that the very ending of it, when he opens the box by accident and Pinhead shows up to kill him, I think that makes the plot twist worse, because I really like the idea of a movie Pinhead shows up in and the mythos exists, but he's not actually there. It's all hallucinations. I think that's a actively good idea for a Hellraiser movie. Mm-hmm. So I was fine with the twist. I just think it would have worked better if Pinhead didn't show up later on then, or if the box wasn't even there.
I agree.
That the mythos was real, and sometimes that's enough to kill people. The fear of it. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like the twist. And I think that's why it would have worked as a non-Hellraiser movie too, because I think you could have just had a random guy instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it has decent characters and decent kills. I like the weird hook thing that Henry Cavill dies on, because I'm that's so dumb. He could have just ducked. That was dumb.
Yeah. There's also a lot of Die Hard references in this one. It's the cop scene where she's trying to get the cops' attention. And there's also the part where she just blatantly, come to the Hellworld party. We'll have a couple of beers. It'll be a fun time. It's all right. Getting a little blatant. All you needed is a scene where one of them's in a fucking air duct and goes, oh man, feeling like a TV dinner in here. Fucking.
But I laughed really hard when the one girl, she steps into she sits in the weird torture chair.
Yeah, instantly.
And she immediately gets, and then the blades are there, and he's oh, don't worry, these are completely harmless as long as the machine isn't engaged. And then he immediately pulls it out, and he's oh no, the machine's engaged. And then he just walks away. I'm that's good. That's stupid.
Yeah, that was a pretty good delivery.
Yeah. And I think that guy, like, he's honestly probably the most, fun to watch villain in any Hellraiser movie.
Yeah, I would say that, given the exception of Frank post-dad skin. In the first
one. Once he has the dad skin?
Yeah, once he's wearing... I think the actor who plays the father does a pretty good job.
That's fair. No, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Does a much better job at playing Frank than the actor who actually plays Frank.
That guy's bad.
Yes.
Yeah, but even talking about this, I'm like, is this my favorite Hellraiser movie?
I mean,
and I'm like, oh no, what's the fuck's wrong with it? But I'm like, that's just not good.
No, it's not what the fuck's wrong with you. It's
like, what the fuck's wrong with the world?
But yeah, Hellworld. It's
But and I also love the stupid video game stuff at the beginning. I thought they were gonna be sucked into a video game, so I was a little disappointed. But then I'm like, wait, this is kind of okay. Yeah. It's bad. It's a bad movie. I'm saying all these good things about it, but it's still a bad movie.
Well, yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, I really don't have a whole lot of commentary on this one, but it is, yeah, top tier of Hellraiser. That's for sure. But yeah, you would give this one a 4 out of 10.
A 4, yeah. I think you're at a 4? Or maybe a 3, a 4?
No, I'm a 3.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were nodding or going down.
Down. I think if this movie was a little more tongue-in-cheek, it would be a 4. But for now, it's a 3.
Okay. Oh, no. Okay. So after this point, they had been fucking just bringing out Hellraiser movies every fucking 2 days, pretty much, every 3 years. But then they took a break for 6 years, and they're about to lose the rights to it.
Yeah,
we got to write a thing in 2 months and film it, and it'll be an hour and 10 minutes. We just need to film it so we keep the rights, and then we'll make a better one later. And Doug Bradley no, I'm only in the classic Hellraiser movies that everyone loves.
Yeah,
I'm like, what? Okay,
sure.
Whatever. So Doug Bradley, for 9, 10, and I guess 11, is not in them. So they had to replace Pinhead. Revelations was the first... also, rewatching this movie, I realized I hadn't seen Hellraiser 1. I thought I had. I had not. But the first Hellraiser movie I watched was this one.
Yeah.
And I remember it being awful. And guess what? I loved it. No, it's awful. It's really bad.
Yeah, this one's bad. I think I might say I like this than a decent chunk of the other sequels. But
because it's an hour and 10 minutes?
Because it's an hour and 10 minutes, and also I gaslit myself at the beginning because I was like, these guys kind of remind me of Super Mega.
I don't know why I'm like, you're going to say Super Mega, even though I don't think they remind me of Super Mega at all. But I'm I bet Thomas is going to say that.
No, they reminded, the main guy holding the camera reminded me of Matt Watson, especially towards the beginning. As it went along, obviously it was less Super Mega. But I was just like, what if Matt and Ryan just went to Mexico, killed a woman, and then found the fucking Hellraiser box? That's what this movie is to me. So that kind of bumped it up a level, because the whole time I was like, yeah, classic Super
Mega goes to Mexico.
Yeah.
I think this movie, I think a found footage horror movie of Hellraiser could work. They don't do it, but I think if they wanted to do a low budget one, I think a found footage one could work.
Yeah. I also had I don't know why. For some reason, I thought I had seen the first 20 minutes of this movie a few times because I had it. I bought it when it first came out on DVD and I owned it. But for some reason, I thought the CGI, or I thought the Pinhead in this was CGI, but he's not.
He's just a weird looking dude.
He's just a weird looking guy. Yeah, basically, this one probably introduces the largest and worst cast of characters we've come across yet. All of them are pretty awful. Basically, the movie gets jump-started with some found footage of these two guys. So, I don't remember their actual characters' names, so I'm just going to call them Matt and Ryan. But Ryan is dating Matt's sister, and so they're like, we're going to go have a bachelor party in Mexico, and we're going to go see donkey shows and stuff. So they go to Mexico, and Ryan ends up killing a woman. And then some guy comes up to their bar table and is like, yeah, here's the fucking box. Here you go. It's always been yours. This movie, more than any of the other sequels, tries to reference, like, the original, which is like, ugh. I don't know if that's for the better or for the worse, but honestly. But yeah, so gives him the box, and then Ryan's like, yeah, I'm gonna use the box, and he does, and he dies, and then fucking Matt then reawakens him, and then starts killing he kills like a couple prostitutes, and gets Ryan back somewhat, and then Ryan's like, I gotta finish the job, but Matt's like, no, I'm not helping you anymore, so he kills Matt and takes his skin, which we don't learn until like the last like maybe 15 minutes of the movie. But yeah, so Ryan, dressed as Matt, returns back home to his family, where it just so happens to be on the night where like the two families are like back together for a dinner, where they're not going to talk about their sons at all. It struck me as very weird. But yeah, Ryan's dad is a fucking creepy perv who is like fucking ogling the teenage, basically his son's fucking girlfriend before he disappeared, and it's like, that's gross. Fucking none of the moms are like actively just fucking awful, but they're passively awful. The dad had an affair, which is apparently what kickstarted the whole thing. And the sister is okay with incest.
Yeah, I'm like, what a weird thing to bring. It's like, we need to make her bad. I'm like, okay, why are you...
She was like the one point of view character you had to that.
Yeah,
point.
and you're just like, why... You're just trying to villainize her for no reason. It just seems really icky the way they wrote it, too. I'm just like, what? Okay, you're being a dick?
Yeah.
It's like, okay...
Yeah.
Also, I'm gonna be. Oh, this might be a hot take, but I'm not gonna say someone's evil because they're like okay with incest. That's gross, but I'm not gonna be like sinner.
No, yeah, it's not something I go out there and promote, but also like, I mean, like, honestly,
maybe no eternal damnation, no horrible torture for.
Honestly, both parties consenting, and you don't have any children.
Who the fuck give a shit? Yeah,
yeah, it's like whatever. Fucking, I don't care. I mean, most of human history, humans banged their fucking cousins, and that's how we reproduced. It's like, shit's fucking weird.
If you believe in Adam and Eve, where the fuck did we come from?
Yeah, literally siblings. But it doesn't count because Adam was made from mud, and Eve was made from his rib.
But if they were the first people, does that mean we're all descended from them? Because if that's the case, that means they had sex.
Oh, yeah.
People were born. Those people had sex.
Probably even worse because we were descendants of them. And how many times did God wipe out the fucking human race minus like maybe one or two?
Wait a minute.
people?
What happened to the guy on the ark?
Yeah, we're all descendants of Noah. And because all of the evidence of the flood that happened globally. Anyway.
Revelations. But yeah, he shows up and he's like, I'm gonna kill you all.
Yeah, I'm gonna trade all of you for my soul. Which, of course, when he tries that, then it's like, Pinhead's like, no. Like, I'm taking you back. And it turns out that he turned Matt Watson into a little Pinhead.
Yeah, like, what? Why?
I don't know. I don't know what
Hey guys, it's me, Little Pinhead!
Yeah, he's just like a little fucking more the fleshy, exposed Pinhead, and it's like, what's the point of this? I thought I thought maybe they were going to try to, like, kind of shoehorn in, like, a meta, like, no, this is why Pinhead doesn't look the same, because it's actually, like, there are multiple Pinheads, and this is just a different Pinhead that we're following.
Did everyone die in this movie?
So what ends up happening is pretty much everyone dies, and what ends up happening is Pinhead's like, I'm going to take back Ryan, who's wearing Matt's skin, and then Matt's dad shoots Ryan.
He's like, I'm the only one that can kill you, you son of a bitch.
And then fucking
Pinhead's like, why the fuck did you do that?
Yeah, Pinhead's like, okay, fuck you. Now I'm not going to take your daughter, but I'm going to take your innocent wife. So he just takes his wife. He's like, you're going to die in like 30 seconds, so you and your daughter can just go back.
So does the daughter survive?
The daughter survives, but I think it's implied that when she does die, she's going to be right back there, but she gets to live in anticipation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's better than the ending of Judgment. I'll give it that. Oh, God. Judgment's ending is fucking awesome. I mean, Judgment itself is like a whole new tier of fucking awful.
Yeah.
But, Revelations isn't that much better. I'd probably rewatch Revelations over like 6 and 7. Maybe 2. Just because it's an hour and 10 minutes. But it's not good. It's not even close to good. I don't even want to say it's good compared to the other ones, because it's... I mean, it probably is, but I don't want to give it that. It's just kind of a cheap sequel made in less than 3 months, just so that a greedy company can hold on to the rights of a franchise that they had been horsewhipping for like 20 years at that point, 22 years at that point. So...
I guess they make it fun. Okay. Like, oh no, the Cowboys found the Pinhead puzzle box.
I totally forgot to mention the point in 5 where he randomly gets his ass kicked by a couple cowboys in a kung fu.
Oh yeah, I kind of
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I thought I was in a fever dream after watching 5 Hellraiser movies.
Yeah, a lot of them blend together and have scenes where it's like, was that a scene that happened, or did I just dream that? Because I watched fucking 7 Hellraiser movies before I went to bed. But
you're making so much noise on that chair.
Oh, sorry.
It's like bum 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 bum.
Yeah, it's my ADHD. I move.
That's okay.
Yeah, Hellraiser 9 is bad.
Yeah.
You would give it a 1.
I would. You would give it a 1?
I would.
Oh, God. 2 more.
Yeah, we just have to talk about 2 more.
Oh, God. Here's Judgment. Hey, guess what? Have you seen 5 and 6? It's the same fucking movie again.
Yeah, it's...
But he has a brother this time.
Yeah, it's a big ripoff of 7 again. Although this time it's way more blatant. Yeah, it's literally just the same shit. It's just serial killer going around by
like, I gotta stop him.
And it turns out it's the fucking main cop that we're following. And he's upset because his wife and his brother, who is also his partner.
And I'm like, why are you killing these? It doesn't even really explain it. It's like, what?
Well, it seems like he had been... There's an implication that he had been fucked up his whole life.
Yeah. But after the war, especially.
Yeah, but the affair was like the thing that, lit it. And basically, yeah, he's a shitty serial killer. They have this new Cenobite who's known as the...
Assessor.
The Assessor, who I actually don't mind in concept.
Yeah, I don't...
But...
The idea that they have a dumb run-down house that they, assess people's sins, they, kidnap... I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But also, at least it's something different than the fucking box.
And the weird... It's such a weird concept because he writes down all of your sins on a typewriter, then he takes that paper, leaves it on a table where
Or maybe, is that the Assessor? What is the big guy called? That might be the Assessor, because he eats it and assesses your... Hold on.
Yeah, he might be the Assessor. In which case, it's like, he's not a Cenobite. He just looks like a fucking, gross British guy or something. But yeah, he just pours like children's tears on the paper, and he'll like eat your paper, and then he'll go over to like a little sty where he'll throw it up, where like on the other side of a wall, 3 just like fucking women who are being like, I don't know, they're like all missing parts of their fucking flesh and limbs and shit, but they eat the vomit and then they make the verdict.
Oh, I will say the one thing I like about this movie real quick. The landlady.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
Heather Langenkamp.
Yeah, I noticed her name in the credits and I was like, oh. And then she had that one line in the movie where I was like, oh. And then...
The auditor and the assessor is the guy that eats the paper.
Okay. And then I guess they don't have a name for the 3 ladies who fucking chow down on the vomit and actually give the real verdict. But whatever. So yeah, that guy goes in there and the assessor like chokes and dies
Because his sins are so strong.
But he also didn't get a chance to vomit into the vat, but yet it still poisons the
Yeah, I'm
3
like, what? They didn't eat anything.
I was like, what? But yeah. So yeah, he's that bad. And so at the end, when his whole shtick is revealed and he goes to hell and the Cenobites confront him and shit, an angel from heaven comes down and is basically like, yeah, this guy, he's evil, but his evil is working in our favor, so we want to send him back. And then Pinhead...
They're like, we need a boogeyman on Earth. I'm like, you have a fucking horrible demon man.
Yeah.
What do you need a serial killer for?
Yeah, I don't get it. But Pinhead's like, that's not a good idea. We shouldn't do that. She's like, no, we're gonna do it.
Send him back.
So
He's
he
like,
does.
okay.
And then he instantly gets shot by another human that was investigating him in the police scene. And then she's like, you knew that was gonna happen. And he's like, maybe I did. And then she's like
threatening him. He's like, oh yeah, watch this. And he explodes her. Yeah.
And then instantly he gets turned into like a homeless guy.
Yeah, he gets turned back into human. I'm like, they already did that.
Yeah, they already did that. He's like
twice.
a different human.
Yeah, now he's Paul T. Taylor. Oh no.
Oh, he's a homeless guy in a box, but he's still got some cuts on his face. And he's like, no! And then the movie ends. And that's the end of the main line of Hellraiser movies until you get to the canonical ending of Bloodline.
So how did he go back to being Pinhead? We'll never know. We should write that movie.
Well, HBO is doing a series that's supposed to be attached to the movies. Whether they're attached to those movies, I highly fucking doubt it. But
Oh, great. I can't wait for more Hellraiser.
yeah.
Woohoo.
To be fair, what's his name? The guy who does the new Halloween movies.
David Gordon Green.
Yeah, he's supposed to be one of the people working on that show, so maybe it'll be
I mean,
okay.
maybe. I mean, I like the newer ones, okay, of Halloween, but I'm also just like, that was on a good property. Like, the bones of that were good.
Yeah.
Bones of Hellraiser?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Hellraiser Judgment, I think, might be the worst one.
Yeah, that's...
It's like Hellseekers. They
did the
every
same
time
thing
they
again.
recycle it, it gets worse, and they keep recycling the same story. I'm like, why don't you recycle Hellworld?
Yeah. They did the same thing again where the time was running out. Dimension was like, oh shit, we already have to make another one or we'll lose the rights. So they put together this one, and goddamn, was it
Does
bad.
it suck?
It's not good. And we're both going to give it 1s out of 10s.
I'm gonna give it a 7. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 1.
If I could give it a 0, I would. But I'll give it a 1. Now, on to the remake, which I can confidently say is the best Hellraiser movie.
Yeah, I guess. I also think this movie's bad, though. Like, I think it's bad in other ways.
Yeah.
I think it's trying.
I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's good. It's kind of the same sentiment that I feel towards the original. I think it's extremely dull. I think it manages to be dull just more in a modern horror movie sense, where it just really wasn't doing it for me. I think allegorically I like the box better as like a symbol for addiction than I do for the like masochist sadist side of like sex.
I guess I'm fine with either. I just don't think they really do it with either one very well.
Yeah, I'd say that they do a better execution with these themes than they do at any point with the original themes.
That's fair.
And I feel like there was an effort to try and make a good Hellraiser movie here.
Yeah, I'm more disappointed because I think David Bruckner, the two movies I've seen, The Ritual, and he did some stuff for Southbound, which was an anthology film, and The Night House, I think they've all been like pretty visually like interesting and had some really interesting like either dream sequences or monster designs. And then this movie, I just don't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the kills are very good, and most of the Cenobites I don't like care for.
Yeah, I don't really care for most of their designs. I will say the aspect that I like about their designs is that they decided to ditch the leather clothing and try to like make it look like they like shape their flesh like their kind of outfits. I thought that was interesting.
There's one that specifically looks like a Halo villain or something. Yeah. Like it doesn't look real.
I kind of like that.
No,
I think that's probably one of my favorite designs of
I'm just
like new.
But it doesn't really look. I feel, like I said earlier, I think they do too much with them.
Yeah,
like they don't look like uncomfortable to me because I'm just like, that just kind of looks dumb.
Yeah.
But, like, they're fun enough, but not really, like, spooky.
I thought the new Pinhead was pretty decent. Obviously didn't have a whole lot of material to work with.
I do think she has more presence than Doug Bradley.
Yeah.
I like her performance. Mm-hmm. And I do, at the very least, think that, like, having her be, like, more slow and methodical and, like, have actual confrontations with the main character are interesting. Like, there are interesting ideas, and she's like, you have to overcome this addiction or you have to die. Like, it's your choice. Like, like, there are things about this movie I like. I just don't, outside of the lead character and, like, the lead Cenobite, don't give a shit about anyone.
Yeah, I don't really like any of the secondary characters.
I think maybe the brother was gearing up to be semi-interesting, and then they kill him off first. I'm like, oh, great.
I think I'm not a big fan of the roommate. I think the brother's boyfriend was semi-interesting, but they really didn't do anything with his character.
I like the one scene where he's like, I need you here because I don't know what the fuck to do. Like, your brother would know. Like, I thought it was a nice, like, emotionally vulnerable scene between a character that I wasn't expecting it from. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But then after that, they don't really do anything with him.
Yeah. I don't like her boyfriend. I don't like... Yeah, there's just a lot I don't like personally. It's not that there's anything, like, inherently wrong or bad about some of the decisions they make. They just, like, kind of strike me as dull and not great. Mm-hmm. What's a good example? Things that Okay. I like that the box is more of a puzzle box in this. It actually requires some fucking effort to solve.
But even then, it's like, turn, and then it pops out, and then you put it back in. And I'm like, that's it?
Yeah, it's still a little basic.
I was telling somebody, I think one of my coworkers, I'm like, if I wrote a Hellraiser movie, I'd take it even a step further. And it would be called The Puzzle Box. But then it would just be a box with a big red button on it. And the puzzle was you had to hit the button. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Basically. But I like the idea of, like, a blade coming out and, like, cutting you every time you, like, successfully do a move. But I don't like the initial premise of, like, every time somebody gets cut by the blade, they're instantly marked. I think it should be, like, the good old fashioned, you open the box and then shit happens. I don't like 6 souls equal a wish. Like, I thought that was fucking unnecessary, and it's like the driving force of the whole fucking movie. And you fucking finally get there, spoiler alert, she doesn't even make the fucking wish. And it's like, what's the fucking point of this fucking premise if you're not even going to fulfill it?
No, I actually appreciate
I get what they were going for thematically, but it's like, I don't know. To me, it felt like that was the obvious conclusion the whole fucking time, and then
that she wasn't going to make the wish, or that she was.
That she wasn't going to make the wish.
Yeah, that's the thing is I appreciate the idea behind it, but it's just like most of the movie just plays it too safe. It's like, oh, she's gonna stab. No, she's not gonna stab. It's very obviously she's gonna do the right thing. I think maybe I would have been more intrigued if she did just was like, you know what, fuck it. Yeah, she kind of turns into a pseudo Frank character.
Honestly, I was kind of hoping that she would do the wish, but not go the route of bringing back her brother, but choosing something extremely fucking selfish, because it would have been kind of the odd choice out that you would probably least expect from it.
I think this one tries to make its lead too likable, too good, I guess. They're struggling, but they don't really ever do anything wrong. Oh no, they did drugs. They're not...
Yeah.
They're not a dick enough for me, you know?
Yeah, it's not like they're fucking selling their roommate's shit or anything. Yeah. It's all pretty...
It's oh no, I stole from a rich person. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's oh, ooh. There's some subtle Epstein, Maxwell kind of parallels with the fucking rich people.
Yeah, and she's I did a lot for him and I wasn't proud of. It's too on the nose. It's just like the first one. I'm I guess it's a nice soft reboot in the sense that it's just as on the nose as all the other Hellraiser movies, but
yeah.
Because I also think that the Night House, which is by the same writers as this, I think it is a really interesting and nuanced exploration of the idea of suicidal tendencies and depression as this big grandiose monster, and whether that's a real physical monster or our manifestations of our fears. So I'm more disappointed in that because I'm and then they just don't really do anything with the script. They don't really do anything with the Cenobites. Oh no, it's addiction. We get addiction. That's such a common trope in current modern horror right now. Yeah. And it's fine if you want to do that, but do something a little more exploratory. Especially because Hellraiser should be fucked up. Hellraiser should be just fucking brutal and fucked up and sad and devastation. And none of them, all 11 of them, never are.
Yeah. No. The closest it gets to that is honestly, probably Revelations, which is sad to say.
Hellraiser should make you cry, and Hellraiser should make you, just disgusted with yourself. Yeah. That's what I think.
I feel like a good Hellraiser movie would end just leaving you feel real fucking kind of sad and empty.
Yeah.
That's kind of
That's
it's very, very hardcore. And yeah, this one didn't scratch... I'm usually not a big, seeker of gore, but I realize that it's a Hellraiser movie and that there were certain expectations, and I don't think the gore levels met the expectations of this movie. Definitely think it played it too safe in that department. But yeah. I thought it was just mainly dull. I especially didn't like the addition of, okay, you stab a person and they're sacrificed. To me, that kind of goes against what the box kind of stands for, because it's your own desires, your own kind of greed or your own wants led you here. Whereas in this universe, you could just kind of accidentally fucking be stabbed with a box and it's oh, well, enjoy fucking eternal damnation, which kind of strikes me as off.
Yeah.
That and the Cenobites are really eager to make deals. Oh, we want your soul, but I mean, if you want to just trade us a couple, we'd be open to that. And I was no, you're not. Cenobites aren't supposed to be open to that kind of shit.
And I get that it's more supposed to be a thematic journey for its lead character, but I'm just well, can you wait a couple minutes?
And the idea that they could the second the Chatterer got sacrificed, I was oh god. And they don't end up actually sacrificing another Cenobite, but it's just that as a principle, if they ever decided to make a fucking sequel to this, it's all right, well, goodbye to any sort of tension.
All right, we got it on a big stick, and we're gonna shoot these things.
Yeah, it's just like, well, cool. So you can just fucking end Cenobites like that. Yeah, I don't think. I think it's dull. I think it's
like visually looks the best. Like it looks nice, but
yeah, I think it kind of operates.
I do like the different configurations of the puzzle box. Like they look cool,
but yeah. Yeah, it just kind of struck me as too generic. Like, very on the nose for what, like, modern horror is. I'll tip my hat to it, because 9 out of 10 horror remakes of big franchises tend to be fucking awful. If you look at, like, a Black Christmas or a fucking...
Nightmare on Elm Street.
I'd say that this one kind of falls more into the range of, like, the Michael Bay's Friday the 13th or the Michael Bay produced, like, horror remakes from the early 2000s where it's like, it's not, like, the worst thing ever, and depending on your sensibilities, you might like it more than the original, but...
I do appreciate that they don't really try to tie it in with the original. Like, they're just like, this is just new character. Like, there's no legacy characters. Yeah. There's nothing.
Although they did... I mean, they do this with every Hellraiser movie, so I guess I get it, but they did slap Clive Barker's name on it a bunch, and it's like... Yeah. It strikes me particularly as disingenuous, because I feel like a lot of people are going to go into this going like, it's a closer representation of what happened in then like Hellbound Heart. And it's like, no, that's still like...
I mean, it might be, but...
No, the Hellbound Heart is like the first movie. There's just differences, like Pinhead's gender, and instead of blood reactivating on blood to recreate Frank, it's that he bled on a spot where fucking Frank had splooged on the floor before, and that's what allows him to come back to life. So shit like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Next episode of Read Weens, The Hellbound Heart.
It's only like 80 pages. It's a short one, right? It's a novella.
It's a novella, yeah. No, but I don't want to fucking read it, so... Listen.
I don't want to do anything after this.
No more Hellraiser. Ever again.
I was just... This is a brutal week. I don't think it's my favorite of them. I will say that it's like the best made one.
Yeah, it's definitely the highest quality of like effort being put into it, it feels like, and also just like basic narrative storytelling, but at that point it's also nothing impressive.
Yeah, I think it's bad, but for different ways, and I did not like it. And I was probably more disappointed than any of the other ones, because I wasn't really expecting anything from the other ones, but this one I'm like, I like David Bruckner. And I like the script writers.
When I first saw the trailer for it, when they dropped it, like...
I don't think I even watched the trailer, so...
I watched the trailer and I was like, that looks pretty good. And then I rewatched all the Hellraiser movies, and at that point I was like, I lost all excitement for it. And by the time I got to it, I was like, well, that was better than probably all the movies I just watched, but... Yeah... So I wasn't excited about it. It wasn't like a, woohoo! That finally, a decent Hellraiser movie. It was just like, yup, here we are. Was it worth it? The pleasure at the end of all the pain?
My pleasure that I never want to have to fucking watch one of these movies? Sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
Until they do the series and I pick that for an episode. Maybe. I wouldn't put it past me, but we'll have to see. You would give this, I don't know, a fucking 4?
You'd give this a 5?
Yeah.
You want to hear my ranking of these real quick? Okay.
Sure.
Let's see. I was really playing with this while we were watching it too. So I think this is my accurate rating of them. Really wild stuff here. Number 1, Hellraiser Hellworld. Number 2, Hellraiser 3. Number 3, Hellraiser 2022. Number 4, Hellraiser 1. Number 5, Hellraiser Bloodline. Number 6, Hellraiser Inferno. And then the rest are all just like 1 out of 10s. But 7, Hellraiser Revelations. 8, Hellraiser 2. 9, Hellraiser Hellseeker. 10, Hellraiser Deader. And 11, Hellraiser Judgment.
Yeah. Just off the top of my head, I would probably go... Probably the remake. This is in terms of how I think of them as movies, not necessarily like which ones I would rewatch, but Hellraiser the remake, probably the original. Probably like Hellworld, Inferno, Bloodline, 3, Revelations, fucking not Deader, Hellseeker, Deader, then Judgment. Is that all of them? Did I miss any of them?
I think you got all of them.
Oh, I think I want to skip 2.
2's down there somewhere.
2 would be right above Judgment.
Wow.
Actually, no, 2 would probably be above Hellseeker. I think I'd watch 2 over like Hellseeker and Deader.
Those last like 6, I'm like, you could just, any of them just kind of toss.
Yeah,
I don't.
They're all
like just bottom of the barrel. Yeah, it was a rough week. Honestly, maybe the worst stuff we watched, like, because we watched 11 bad things.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. But
what are we watching next week, Thomas?
I don't know. Let's see. So
let's see. Let's go to Letterboxd. Let's sort by lowest rated.
All right. So I got a wheel here.
Okay.
So it's got 4 double feature options on it. Well, technically one of them was a triple feature. Okay. So the options are, we've got 1 pick that's H.P. Lovecraft adaptation. So it'd be In the Mouth of Madness, or Mouth of Madness, the John Carpenter one, with Stuart Gordon's Dagon.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yes.
Is that the only good one out of the 4?
No, I'd say all except for one of these are pretty decent.
Okay.
Probably. I've got Burnt Offerings and The Changeling. Those are 2 haunted house movies. I've got Magic and Dead Silence, 2 puppet movies. And then the trilogy is, I decided, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, 3, and 4 of like the original quadrilogy, because we already covered 1 on the podcast. But yeah.
Okay.
So, spinning the wheel.
Okay. Awesome.
Yep.
That's so great.
the worst one that lands on.
All right.
So we're watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Maybe, I think this October is truly haunted.
Well, we've still got some time to maybe watch some good stuff.
So Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, right?
Yes.
And then Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Is that the 4th one?
No. So the 4th one is The Next Generation.
Okay.
Yep. The one with Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger that was made before they were famous and sat on a shelf until after they were famous, and then the movie was promoted with them all over it because they were big actors, and they were like probably not super happy about it. 'Cause that one's bad, but it's kind of fun. I remember.
Oh, I think The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is another name for that movie.
Oh, maybe. It's at least not over here.
Let's see, because it has it as its name, but it has the poster for The Next Generation.
Weird. Okay. Strange. But yeah. Don't accidentally watch Leatherface, just plain Leatherface, because they did a...
I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm probably going to watch all the Texas movies.
Don't say that, because if I'm being honest, I'm probably going to watch all the Texas Chainsaw movies, and do we want a repeat? Is this what we're doing?
I don't know.
Should I just say we're doing the 4, and if it happens, it happens. That way we both have a potential fail-safe point.
How many are there?
So
there's the new one.
Okay, so I won't count the 2 that we've covered on it here, which is we did an original versus remake.
Oh yeah, there was another. I forgot.
So not counting those, we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, 3, 4. Then the remake would slot in there, but then you have the remake's prequel, the beginning. So that makes for the 4th one we would be covering. And then they did Texas Chainsaw 3D, which is a legacy sequel. Then they did Leatherface, which is a prequel to the original. And then they did the new Netflix one that came out somewhat recently. So
let's just do the 3 you said. I might watch them all. I'll let you know. But for now, let's do the 3.
Okay. Yeah. Because it would be 7 we would be watching. But there's technically 9, I think.
Jesus fucking Christ, what's wrong with this country?
And yeah, most of them are really bad. The original is pretty good. The remake's pretty good. I like the 2nd one. I think the 4th one is funny. And then beyond Texas Chainsaw, the beginning, I haven't seen any of them. I tapped out long ago.
Okay, and I'm probably going to rewatch the first just to have it fresh in my mind.
Yeah, I probably will too, because I watched X this week and it kind of got me in the mood to.
Maybe I'll like it more this time. I didn't hate it the first time, but okay. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm gonna go open the puzzle box and see and be like, you guys are fucking tame. Have you ever watched 11 Hellraiser movies? Fuck you guys.
Yeah, no, we truly suffered this week.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Adios.